We're drifting slowly into the mysteries of the lands between, where every shadow holds secrets that time has forgotten, and every whisper carries truths too strange for waking minds to hold. In this realm where gods have walked and fallen, where the very stones remember ancient sorrows, we find ourselves drawn not to the grand proclamations carved in golden halls, but to the quiet mysteries that linger in forgotten corners, the unanswered questions that float like mist through ruined towers and abandoned crypts. Tonight we surrender ourselves to these gentle enigmas, letting them carry us deeper into contemplation, deeper into the soft embrace of wonder that asks nothing of us but to listen, to drift, to let the unknown cradle us in its patient arms. There are chambers beneath Stormvale Castle where the very air seems to remember something lost, something that happened long before Godric claimed his throne of grafted limbs and borrowed strength. In these depths, carved into stone so old it predates the Erdtree's first sprouting, we find symbols that belong to no known civilization, geometric patterns that spiral inward toward meanings we cannot grasp. Some believe these markings are remnants of the storm itself, that before the castle bore its name, before even the ancient dragons claimed dominion over the skies, there was something here that commanded the very winds, something that whispered its secrets into stone and left only traces for us to puzzle over in the darkness. The scholars who once walked these halls, in the days when knowledge flowed freely between the academies, they spoke in hushed tones of a presence that dwelt within the storm's eye. Neither god nor beast, but something between, something that had learned to speak in thunder and write its will across the sky in lightning. Perhaps this presence still lingers. Perhaps it watches from within the eternal tempest that surrounds the castle. Perhaps it is the reason why the winds here never truly rest, why even in the deepest chambers we can hear that distant howling that sounds almost like voices calling from very far away. We find ourselves wondering about the nature of these ancient storms, about whether they are truly natural phenomena or something more purposeful, more aware. The way the winds seem to shift and change when we approach certain ruins, the way they carry scents of flowers that bloom nowhere in the lands between, the way they sometimes bring with them the sound of music played on instruments that no living hand has touched for centuries. It may be that the storms themselves are repositories of memory, vast aerial archives that preserve the echoes of everything they have witnessed, everything they have swept across in their endless journeying between earth and sky. In the depths of Caelid, where the scarlet rot has painted the landscape in hues of decay and transformation, there are trees that grow in patterns too deliberate to be accidental, too meaningful to be mere chance. These twisted groves form spirals and circles, geometric arrangements that suggest intelligence, purpose, perhaps even communication. Some believe these are the gardens of the rot itself, that the plague which consumed this land is not merely destruction, but a form of alien agriculture, cultivating something we cannot comprehend, growing toward some harvest that exists beyond our understanding of life and death. The rot, we have learned, is not simply entropy, not merely the breaking down of order into chaos. There is something almost musical in the way it spreads, following patterns that echo the golden spirals found in seashells and flower petals, the same mathematical harmonies that govern the movement of stars and the growth of crystals. Perhaps the rot is not the enemy of life, but another form of it, a different kind of existence that operates by rules so foreign to us that we can only perceive it as disease, as ending, when in truth it may be a beginning we are not equipped to recognize. The creatures that emerge from the rot's embrace, the kindred of rot with their delicate, almost ethereal forms, they move with a grace that speaks not of corruption, but of transformation, of becoming something new and strange and beautiful in ways that our limited senses can barely comprehend. Their eyes, when we glimpse them through the crimson mist, hold an intelligence that seems both ancient and newly born, as if they remember being something else while simultaneously discovering what they have become. There are nights when the rot glows with its own inner light, when the infected trees pulse with bioluminescence that paints the wasteland in shades of amber and gold. During these times, travelers report hearing songs carried on the wind, melodies that seem to emerge from the very ground, from the roots and spores and countless tiny lives that thrive in this transformed earth. Some say these songs are the rot itself learning to speak, finding its voice after eons of silent growth, while others believe they are the voices of those who have been welcomed into its embrace, who have discovered joy in transformation, peace in becoming something other than what they were. Deep beneath the Academy of Raya Lucaria, in chambers that the sorcerers have sealed with their most potent magic, there are texts written in scripts that predate the arrival of glintstone sorcery, manuscripts that speak of magics based not on the stars, but on something far more intimate, far more immediate. These forgotten treatises describe the magic of memory itself, the art of weaving spells from recollection and dream, of drawing power not from distant celestial bodies, but from the accumulated experiences of every soul that has ever lived and loved and lost within the lands between. The practitioners of this ancient art, known in the old tongue as the weavers of what was, understood that every moment of joy and sorrow, every instant of triumph and despair, leaves traces in the very fabric of reality, creates ripples that sensitive minds can learn to perceive and manipulate. They could craft illusions so perfect that they became more real than reality, could heal wounds by remembering the body as it was before injury, could even, it is whispered, restore the dead by gathering the scattered fragments of their memories and weaving them back into wholeness. Perhaps this is why the Academy's sorcerers guard these deeper vaults so jealously, why they speak in nervous whispers of the chambers that must never be opened, the books that must never be read. Perhaps they fear not that this ancient magic is powerless, but that it is too powerful, too seductive, too willing to blur the boundaries between what is and what was, between the living and the remembered, between the dreamer and the dream. The glintstone itself, that miraculous crystalline substance that forms the foundation of all modern sorcery, may be nothing more than fossilized memory, the crystallized essence of countless thoughts and feelings compressed over eons into physical form. This would explain why different types of glintstone produce such varied magical effects, why some stones sing with the power of starlight, while others hum with earthier energies. Each crystal would be a different collection of memories, a different symphony of experiences frozen in mineral form, waiting for a skilled sorcerer to unlock its accumulated wisdom. In the deepest reaches of the underground, where even the Siofra River's light cannot penetrate, there are structures that were not built by any civilization we know, geometries that follow principles older than architecture, older perhaps than the very concept of shelter itself. These spaces seem to exist in defiance of normal physics, with corridors that loop back on themselves impossibly, chambers that are larger inside than outside, staircases that ascend and descend simultaneously, depending on the angle from which they are viewed. Some believe these impossible structures are the fossilized remains of dreams, the architectural equivalent of the glintstone crystals, spaces where the boundary between imagination and reality grew so thin that thought itself became solid, became permanent. Others suggest they are wounds in the world's fabric, places where reality was damaged by some ancient catastrophe and has never quite healed, leaving behind these twisted geometries as scars that remind us of traumas too vast for mortal minds to fully comprehend. The few explorers who have returned from these deepest places speak of encountering their own reflections in corridors where no mirrors exist, of hearing their own voices calling to them from rooms they have never entered, of finding personal belongings they lost years ago arranged carefully on tables in chambers that should not exist. These experiences suggest that the impossible architecture is not merely defying physical laws, but temporal ones as well, that these spaces exist outside the normal flow of time, collecting moments and memories and arranging them according to logics that operate beyond our understanding. Perhaps most unsettling are the reports of doors that open onto rooms containing exact duplicates of familiar spaces, perfect recreations of childhood bedrooms, beloved libraries, sacred groves, all rendered in loving detail but somehow wrong, somehow hollow, as if they are copies made by something that understands the visual elements but not the emotional significance, the lived experience that gives a place its true meaning. The question of what creates these perfect yet soulless duplications leads us deeper into contemplation of memory itself, and how the lands between seem to preserve not just the physical remnants of the past, but its emotional echoes as well. In the catacombs scattered throughout the realm, we find burial chambers that contain far more bodies than the communities above could have ever produced, suggesting that these underground spaces draw the dead from across vast distances and perhaps across time itself, The arrangement of these bodies follows patterns that shift depending on when they are observed, as if the catacombs are constantly reorganizing their contents according to some unknowable system of classification. Some theorists propose that death in the lands between is not the simple ending we might expect, but rather a transition into a different state of existence, where the boundaries between individual identity become fluid, where the deceased continue to interact with one another in ways that leave physical traces in the world above. The presence of the Erdtree's roots throughout these burial spaces suggests a connection between death and the great tree's sustenance. But the relationship appears more complex than simple absorption or recycling. The roots seem to be listening rather than feeding, extending their tendrils toward the bodies not to consume them, but to gather the stories they contain, the accumulated experiences of lifetimes spent in service to various causes and masters. This gathering of narrative essence may explain why the Erdtree's light carries such a sense of accumulated wisdom, why standing in its presence feels like being surrounded by the whispered voices of countless generations sharing their hard-won understanding of existence itself. In the shadow of the great tree, we encounter the phenomenon of the spirit ashes, remnants of beings that exist in a state between life and death, neither fully present nor completely absent from the world. These spirits retain enough coherence to follow simple commands and engage in combat, yet they seem to exist in a dream-like state, where past and present blend together seamlessly. When summoned, they often exhibit behaviors that suggest they are reliving moments from their living days, warriors repeating battle formations from long-forgotten conflicts, scholars continuing research into questions that may no longer have relevance, children playing games whose rules have been lost to time. The fact that these spirits can be summoned repeatedly without diminishing suggests that they are not finite resources being consumed, but rather patterns being temporarily impressed upon the fabric of reality, echoes that can be called forth whenever the proper conditions are met. The creation of spirit ashes requires more than simply preserving the physical remains of the deceased. It demands the preservation of their essential patterns, their characteristic ways of moving through and interacting with the world. This process appears to be connected to the practice of remembrance, the careful cultivation of memory that transforms individual lives into eternal stories. The most powerful spirit ashes are those created from beings who were remembered with particular intensity, whose stories were told and retold until they became more real than reality itself, more permanent than the physical forms they once inhabited. This relationship between memory and permanence extends into the realm of the demigods themselves, whose legendary status seems to grant them a form of immortality that transcends mere physical durability. Even when their bodies are broken or transformed beyond recognition, their essential natures persist, continuing to shape the world around them through sheer force of accumulated legend. Godric's grafting obsession, Rykard's serpentine transformation, Radan's stellar imprisonment, all represent attempts to transcend the limitations of their original forms while maintaining the core aspects of their identities that have been crystallized through countless retellings of their deeds. The phenomenon of remembrance itself appears to operate according to principles that blur the line between history and mythology, between factual record and collective dream. The remembrances obtained from defeating the demigods contain not just the power to recreate their signature weapons and abilities, but also fragments of their consciousness, their ways of perceiving and interacting with reality. When these remembrances are consumed or traded, they transfer not just mechanical benefits, but also subtle shifts in perspective, temporary glimpses into the worldview of beings whose experiences span centuries or millennia. Deep beneath the lands between, in chambers that predate any known civilization, we find evidence of experiments in consciousness preservation that go far beyond the spirit ash techniques developed in later ages. These ancient laboratories contain crystalline structures that pulse with a light reminiscent of living thought, geometric arrangements of minerals and metals that seem designed to capture and contain the most ephemeral aspects of existence. The few scholars who have attempted to study these installations report experiencing vivid dreams for months afterward, dreams that feel more like memories than imagination, as if the ancient crystals are slowly downloading their contents into any mind that comes into contact with them. The dreams reported by these researchers share certain common elements: visions of vast cities that exist in spaces between spaces, populated by beings of pure thought who have transcended the need for physical form while retaining their individual personalities and desires. These dream cities are described as places of impossible beauty and terrible loneliness, where consciousness freed from bodily limitations discovers both the ecstasy of unlimited potential and the aching isolation of existence without connection to the material world. Some believe these visions represent actual places that exist parallel to our reality, accessible only through states of consciousness that the ancient crystalline devices were designed to facilitate. The technology behind these consciousness preservation systems appears to be based on principles that treat thought and memory as forms of energy that can be harvested, refined, and stored, much like any other natural resource. The geometric patterns found in the deepest chambers suggest a mathematics of consciousness, equations that describe the relationship between individual awareness and the underlying fabric of reality itself. These mathematical principles may explain how the Elden Ring itself functions, not as a simple source of power, but as a vast computational system that processes and integrates the consciousness of every living being in the lands between, creating a collective awareness that transcends individual mortality while preserving the unique perspectives that give existence its meaning and purpose. The discovery of these ancient consciousness laboratories raises profound questions about the nature of identity and continuity in a world where death is not necessarily final and where memories can be preserved, transferred, and even artificially created. If consciousness can be stored and retrieved like any other form of information, then what constitutes the true self becomes a question not of physical continuity, but of narrative coherence, of the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what we have experienced. The narrative threads that bind identity together become even more complex when we consider the strange temporal anomalies that permeate the deepest ruins of the lands between, places where time itself seems to flow in patterns that defy conventional understanding. In certain underground chambers, archaeologists have discovered murals that appear to change depending on when they are viewed, depicting different versions of the same historical events as if multiple timelines were somehow bleeding through into a single visual record. These temporal art installations suggest that the ancients possessed not only the ability to preserve consciousness, but also to manipulate the flow of time itself, creating pockets of reality where past, present, and future exist in a state of fluid interconnection. The implications of such temporal manipulation extend far beyond mere historical curiosity, touching on the fundamental question of whether the events we experience as linear progression might actually be occurring simultaneously across multiple dimensional layers. Perhaps the most unsettling discovery in these time-warped chambers is the presence of what researchers have termed echo artifacts, objects that seem to exist in multiple temporal states at once, appearing new and ancient, broken and whole, depending on the observer's state of consciousness when encountering them. These artifacts pulse with an energy that feels familiar yet alien, as if they were created by minds that understood time not as a river flowing in one direction, but as an ocean with currents moving in all directions simultaneously. The echo artifacts respond to touch by projecting fragmentary images directly into the observer's mind, visions that seem to show the same locations and events from dozens of different temporal perspectives, creating a kaleidoscopic view of history that suggests reality itself might be far more malleable than we typically assume. The temporal anomalies become even stranger in the presence of certain crystalline formations that appear to be growing throughout the underground complexes, spreading like living veins through stone and metal with a patience that suggests geological timescales. These crystal growths emit a low, harmonic vibration that can be felt more than heard, a resonance that seems to synchronize with the observer's heartbeat and breathing until the boundary between internal and external rhythm begins to dissolve. Prolonged exposure to these harmonic crystals induces a state of consciousness that researchers describe as temporal vertigo, a sensation of existing simultaneously at multiple points in one's own timeline, experiencing childhood memories as immediate sensations while simultaneously perceiving potential future events as equally real and present. Some theorists propose that these crystalline networks represent a form of temporal infrastructure, a system designed to allow consciousness to move freely through time rather than being trapped in the narrow window of present-moment awareness. This temporal navigation system might explain the prophetic abilities demonstrated by various figures throughout the history of the lands between, individuals who seemed to possess knowledge of events that had not yet occurred, or understanding of patterns that spanned centuries. If consciousness can indeed be freed from temporal constraints, then prophecy becomes not a supernatural gift, but a natural consequence of accessing information that exists outside the normal flow of cause and effect. The relationship between consciousness preservation and temporal manipulation becomes even more intriguing when we examine the deepest levels of the ancient complexes, where the crystalline formations have grown so extensively that they form complete chambers, spaces where the walls themselves pulse with stored memories and the air shimmers with temporal distortions. In these crystal caverns, visitors report experiencing what can only be described as memory storms, overwhelming cascades of foreign recollections that flood consciousness with experiences from lives never lived, loves never felt, losses never endured. These memory storms appear to be spontaneous releases of information stored within the crystal matrix, moments when the preservation system becomes overloaded and begins broadcasting its contents indiscriminately to any consciousness sensitive enough to receive them. The content of these memory storms provides tantalizing glimpses into civilizations that existed long before the current age, societies that achieved levels of technological and spiritual development that make the current inhabitants of the lands between seem like children playing with toys they do not understand. These ancient memories speak of cities that existed partially in physical space and partially in realms of pure thought, transportation systems that moved consciousness rather than bodies, and communication networks that allowed individuals to share experiences directly without the clumsy intermediary of language. Most remarkably, these memory fragments suggest that death was viewed not as an ending, but as a transition to a different mode of existence, a graduation from physical to purely mental reality that was celebrated rather than mourned. The emotional resonance of these ancient memories carries a particular quality that distinguishes them from normal recollections, a sense of profound peace mixed with infinite sadness, as if the original experiences had achieved something wonderful while simultaneously losing something equally precious. This emotional signature appears consistently across all the memory fragments recovered from different crystal formations, suggesting that the transition from physical to purely mental existence, while representing a form of transcendence, also involves a sacrifice that the ancients found both necessary and heartbreaking. Perhaps what was lost in this transition was the capacity for surprise, for genuine uncertainty, for the sweet anxiety of not knowing what comes next that gives physical existence its particular poignancy. The technological principles underlying both consciousness preservation and temporal manipulation seem to converge in the deepest chambers, where massive crystalline structures extend down into the earth far beyond what current excavation techniques can reach. These towering crystal formations appear to be tapping into some fundamental energy source that exists beneath the surface reality of the lands between, drawing power from what can only be described as the substrate of existence itself. The energy patterns flowing through these deep crystal networks suggest a technology that treats consciousness, time, and space as different aspects of a single underlying phenomenon, a unified field that can be manipulated through properly applied mathematical principles and harmonic resonance. Some researchers theorize that these deep crystal networks represent the true foundation upon which all the visible structures of the lands between are built, a consciousness processing infrastructure that predates not only the current age, but possibly the physical formation of the realm itself. If this theory proves correct, then everything we understand about the history and nature of the lands between might need to be reconsidered, viewed not as the natural development of a physical world, but as the manifestation of patterns embedded in a vast computational system designed to generate and sustain conscious experience across multiple temporal dimensions. The implications of such a revelation would extend far beyond academic interest, touching on fundamental questions about the nature of free will, individual identity, and the purpose of existence itself in a reality that might be far more constructed and intentional than it appears. The emotional weight of these discoveries presses down upon researchers like a gentle but persistent tide, carrying with it the recognition that we are walking through the remains of something both greater and sadder than we had imagined, a civilization that achieved transcendence at the cost of something ineffably human, something that perhaps we are meant to preserve even as we reach toward our own transformation. The deeper we venture into these crystalline archives, the more we encounter fragments that speak of a different kind of mystery altogether, one that touches upon the very nature of dreams and their relationship to the waking world of the lands between. Scattered throughout the crystal formations are memory echoes that seem to originate not from conscious thought, but from the dream state itself, preserved moments of sleeping consciousness that have somehow crystallized into permanent form. These dream fragments possess a quality unlike any other preserved memories, carrying within them the fluid logic and emotional intensity that characterizes the dreaming mind. Yet they appear to have been deliberately collected and stored with the same care given to the most important historical records. The presence of these dream archives suggests that the ancient civilization understood something about the nature of dreams that has been lost to current knowledge, recognizing them not as mere byproducts of sleeping consciousness, but as access points to layers of reality that remain hidden during waking hours. Within these crystallized dreams, we find recurring imagery that appears across multiple individual dreamers, patterns and symbols that seem to transcend personal experience and tap into something collective, something shared. The most common of these shared dream elements involves vast underground chambers filled with a soft, golden light that pulses in rhythm with something that the dreamers describe as the heartbeat of the world itself. These dream chambers contain structures that bear no resemblance to anything found in the physical architecture of the lands between, yet they feel familiar to the dreamers, as though they represent spaces that exist in some fundamental layer of reality that can only be accessed through the particular state of consciousness that dreams provide. Some theorists propose that these shared dream spaces represent memories of a time before the current physical configuration of the lands between, when the realm existed in a more malleable state that could be directly accessed and modified through conscious intention guided by dream logic. The emotional quality of these preserved dreams carries a distinctive sense of longing, not for something lost, but for something that exists just beyond reach, something that the dreamers know is real, but cannot quite grasp with their waking minds. This longing appears to be directed toward a state of being that combines the clarity of waking consciousness with the unlimited possibility of dreams, a synthesis that the ancient dreamers seemed to believe was not only possible but necessary for the next stage of their civilization's development. The dream fragments suggest that extensive research was conducted into techniques for maintaining dream consciousness while awake, methods for bringing the fluid creativity and expanded perception of dreams into ordinary reality, without losing the grounding and stability that waking consciousness provides. These experiments in consciousness expansion appear to have yielded unexpected results, creating individuals who existed in a permanent state between dreaming and waking, beings who could perceive and interact with layers of reality that remained invisible to others. The preserved memories of these liminal individuals describe experiences that stretch the boundaries of language, encounters with entities and forces that exist in the spaces between established reality, consciousness that flows like water through dimensions that have no names in any known tongue. Yet these expanded beings also describe a profound isolation, the difficulty of communicating experiences that have no reference points in ordinary consciousness, the challenge of maintaining relationships with those who inhabit only the conventional layers of reality. Their memories carry a weight of responsibility, the knowledge that they serve as bridges between different modes of existence, translators of experiences that others need to understand but cannot directly access. The technology developed to support these consciousness-bridging individuals appears to have been based on principles that treat reality itself as a collaborative creation, an ongoing conversation between multiple layers of awareness that requires constant attention and adjustment to maintain stability. The crystalline structures that preserve their memories also seem to function as stabilizing anchors, points of reference that allow expanded consciousness to maintain connection with the physical realm without becoming lost in the infinite possibilities that dream logic reveals. These anchor points appear to have been carefully positioned throughout the underground complex, according to patterns that mirror the natural flow of consciousness between different states of awareness, creating a network that could support multiple individuals operating at various levels of expanded perception simultaneously. The deeper archives revealed that this consciousness research was not conducted in isolation, but was part of a larger project aimed at understanding the relationship between individual awareness and what the researchers termed the fundamental dreaming, a base layer of reality that they believed was actively dreaming all existence into being. Their theoretical framework suggested that individual consciousness represents localized expressions of this fundamental dreaming process, temporary focal points through which the base reality experiences itself from multiple perspectives simultaneously. According to this model, the expansion of individual consciousness was not simply personal development, but participation in the fundamental dreaming's ongoing effort to understand itself more completely, to experience existence from ever more nuanced and complex viewpoints. The practical implications of this theoretical framework led to the development of techniques for what the researchers called conscious dreaming, methods for maintaining full awareness while allowing consciousness to flow into the deeper patterns that underlie ordinary experience. The preserved records of these techniques describe practices that combine meditation, controlled dreaming, and interaction with the crystalline consciousness. Preservation technology to create states of awareness that transcend the usual boundaries between self and environment, between individual and universal consciousness. These practices appear to have been both profoundly transformative and inherently dangerous, carrying the risk of permanent dissolution of individual identity into the larger patterns of existence. The emotional tenor of the later record suggests that the researchers gradually came to understand that their work was approaching a threshold beyond which return to ordinary consciousness might not be possible, a point of no return where individual awareness would merge permanently with the fundamental dreaming that underlies all existence. The decision to preserve their research in crystalline form seems to have been motivated by the recognition that future generations might need access to this knowledge, while also needing protection from its more dangerous implications, a way of passing on understanding while maintaining the safeguards necessary to prevent premature or unprepared engagement with forces that could dissolve individual consciousness entirely. The final entries in the Crystal Archives speak of a great convergence, a moment when all the consciousness researchers would simultaneously engage in the deepest level of conscious dreaming, allowing their individual awareness to flow completely into the fundamental patterns, while their knowledge and experience remained preserved in the crystalline network for future generations. The emotional quality of these final records carries both profound excitement and deep sadness, the recognition that they were approaching the culmination of their life's work, while simultaneously accepting that this culmination would represent the end of their existence as individual beings. Their final messages speak of trust in the future, confidence that others would eventually discover their work, and carry it forward with the wisdom to avoid the dangers they had encountered while building upon the understanding they had achieved. The silence that follows these final entries in the Crystal Archives carries its own weight of meaning, a stillness that seems to echo with the presence of consciousness that has moved beyond individual expression while somehow remaining accessible to those who know how to listen. The crystalline structures continue to pulse with their gentle light, maintaining the preserved memories and knowledge, while perhaps also serving as beacons for consciousness that has transcended ordinary boundaries, markers that allow expanded awareness to maintain some connection with the realm of individual existence, even after moving into the deeper patterns of the fundamental dreaming. The crystalline archives hold more than preserved consciousness, however, for within their depths we find traces of something that predates even the most ancient Carian researchers, fragments of knowledge that speak to connections between the realm of dreams and the very foundations upon which the lands between were built. These deeper layers of the crystal matrix contain impressions of conversations between the Carian consciousness researchers and entities that seem to have existed in the dreaming realm long before any mortal minds learned to navigate those spaces, beings of pure thought and intention that had been dwelling in the spaces between waking and sleeping since time immemorial. The nature of these entities remains profoundly mysterious, their communications filtered through layers of crystalline preservation and the interpretive frameworks of minds that were themselves undergoing transformation as they engaged with forces beyond ordinary comprehension. What emerges from these fragmented records suggests that the dreaming realm contains its own native inhabitants, consciousness that never required physical form, and that exists in states of awareness fundamentally different from anything experienced by mortal minds, even those mortal minds that had learned to expand their consciousness beyond ordinary boundaries. These dream-native entities appear to have served as guides and teachers for the Carian researchers, sharing knowledge about the fundamental nature of consciousness and reality, while also warning of the dangers inherent in moving too quickly or carelessly into expanded states of awareness. The fragments preserved in the crystals speak of lessons about the relationship between individual consciousness and the larger patterns of existence. teachings that emphasized the importance of maintaining connection to individual identity, even while exploring the dissolution of boundaries that occurs in deep dreaming states. The dream entities seem to have understood that mortal consciousness requires anchoring points, stable reference frames that prevent complete dissolution into the universal patterns, and much of their teaching focused on techniques for maintaining these anchors while still allowing consciousness to expand and explore beyond ordinary limitations. Perhaps most intriguingly, these dream-native beings appear to have possessed knowledge about the origins of the lands between themselves, understanding that reached back to the very moment when the fundamental forces that would eventually manifest as the greater will first began to take shape in the spaces between dream and reality. The crystalline records contain fragments of cosmological teachings that describe reality as emerging from the interaction between different layers of dreaming consciousness, with the physical world representing the densest and most stable layer, while higher dimensions of existence remain fluid and responsive to conscious intention. According to these teachings, the greater will itself represents one particular pattern of consciousness that achieved sufficient stability and focus to begin manifesting physical reality according to its own internal logic and desire for order. But this manifestation required the cooperation and participation of countless other conscious entities across multiple layers of existence. The dream entities seem to have understood that the establishment of the lands between as a physical realm required the willing participation of consciousness at every level, from the dream-native beings who provided the foundational patterns to the mortal minds that would eventually inhabit the physical world and give it meaning through their experiences and choices. This cooperation was not without its costs, however, for the process of manifesting stable physical reality required the temporary forgetting of the deeper connections between all consciousness, the deliberate limitation of awareness that allows individual beings to experience themselves as separate and distinct, while still participating in the larger patterns of existence. The dream entities appear to have accepted this limitation as necessary for the grand experiment of physical existence, but they also maintained their role as guardians of the deeper knowledge, preserving the understanding that would eventually allow mortal consciousness to rediscover its connection to the fundamental patterns while maintaining the stability necessary for continued existence in physical form. The Carian researchers seem to have gradually come to understand that their work with consciousness expansion was actually a rediscovery of ancient knowledge, a return to ways of being that had been deliberately forgotten in order to allow the experiment of individual existence to unfold without interference from memories of unity that might prevent the full exploration of separation and individuality. The emotional quality of their later records suggests both excitement at rediscovering these connections and concern about the implications of this knowledge for the stability of individual existence and the continued functioning of the physical world. They appear to have recognized that their research was approaching the boundaries of what could safely be explored while maintaining the conditions necessary for mortal life, and their decision to preserve their work in crystalline form seems to have been motivated by a desire to make this knowledge available to future generations, while also ensuring that it could not be accessed carelessly or without proper preparation. The final phases of the Carian consciousness research seem to have focused on developing methods for maintaining connection to both individual identity and universal consciousness simultaneously, techniques that would allow practitioners to access the deeper patterns of existence without losing their ability to function effectively in the physical world. The crystalline archives contain detailed descriptions of meditation practices that involve conscious dreaming while awake, methods for expanding awareness while maintaining clear boundaries between self and environment, and techniques for communicating with dream-native entities while preserving the integrity of individual consciousness. These practices appear to have required years of careful preparation and gradual development, with practitioners slowly building their capacity for expanded awareness while constantly monitoring their ability to return to ordinary consciousness at will. The success of these techniques seems to have varied considerably among different practitioners, with some individuals proving naturally suited to maintaining stable connections across multiple levels of consciousness, while others found the practices too destabilizing for safe engagement. The records suggest that the researchers developed careful screening methods for identifying individuals with the natural capacity for consciousness expansion, as well as support systems for those who experienced difficulty maintaining their grounding in individual identity during periods of expanded awareness. The emotional tenor of these records suggests deep care and concern for the well-being of all participants, with the researchers clearly understanding that the knowledge they were working with carried genuine risks for unprepared or unsuited minds. Perhaps most remarkably, the crystalline archives contain descriptions of collaborative consciousness experiences where multiple researchers would simultaneously enter expanded states of awareness and work together to explore the deeper patterns of existence while maintaining mutual support and grounding for each other. These collaborative sessions appear to have been the culmination of years of individual practice and preparation, allowing groups of consciousness to explore territories that would have been too dangerous or destabilizing for individual minds to navigate alone. The records of these sessions speak of discoveries about the fundamental nature of reality that went far beyond anything achievable through individual exploration, insights into the relationship between consciousness and existence that could only emerge through the interaction of multiple expanded minds working in careful coordination. The final collaborative session described in the crystalline archives appears to have been different from all the others, a convergence that the researchers had been preparing for throughout their entire program of consciousness expansion. The records suggest that this final session was intended as a permanent transition, a collective decision to move their consciousness permanently into the deeper patterns of existence, while leaving their knowledge and experience preserved in crystalline form for future generations. The emotional quality of the records leading up to this final convergence carries both profound anticipation and deep sadness. The recognition that they were approaching the culmination of their life's work, while simultaneously accepting that this culmination would represent the end of their existence as individual beings in the physical world. Yet the crystalline archives do not offer a clear explanation as to why this final, permanent transition was deemed necessary, only hinting at a growing urgency, a sense that the fabric of reality itself was subtly shifting, demanding a deeper, more integrated form of awareness to comprehend. It may be that the researchers sensed the nascent stirrings of the greater will's influence, or perhaps the early whispers of the Elden Beast's arrival, foreseeing a coming age where individual consciousness, bound by physical form, would be insufficient to navigate the profound changes ahead. This notion, that a collective consciousness might have sought to transcend the material plane to better understand or even influence cosmic forces, resonates with some interpretations of the Elden Ring's own nature, not merely as a symbol of order, but as a conceptual framework for existence itself, a network of interwoven principles that govern life and death, will and destiny. Moving gently from these ancient pre-Erdtree mysteries, we might consider the enigmatic nature of the Walking Mausoleums, those colossal, leg-bearing structures that roam the lands between, serving as mobile tombs for headless demigods. Their very existence is a profound mystery. Who built them, and for what purpose, beyond merely housing these royal remains? It seems unlikely that the demigods themselves, or even their loyal retainers, would have constructed such gargantuan ambulatory monuments. Some whisper that these mausoleums are not merely constructs, but living, animated entities, perhaps a forgotten form of life or golem, imbued with a sacred duty to protect their headless charges. The sound of their colossal bells, which must be silenced before entry, feels like a ritual of respect, a recognition of something ancient and potent. The headless state of the demigods within is equally perplexing. While Godwyn's soul was killed, leaving his body to fester, the demigods in the mausoleums seem to have been cleanly decapitated. Was this a ritualistic act, a way to prevent their return, or perhaps to sever their connection to the Golden Order? It's been suggested that these are the demigods who were slain during the shattering, their bodies too powerful, too imbued with grace, to simply be buried in conventional ground. The Walking Mausoleums, then, might be a nomadic form of eternal vigilance, keeping these powerful fragments of divinity moving and thus harder to corrupt or exploit. The fact that they house the remains of demigods who never knew resurrection is a curious detail, hinting at a specific kind of death that required this unique form of interment. Perhaps the mausoleums themselves are a manifestation of a forgotten order, a pre-Golden Order funerary rite that predates Marika's dominion. Consider the role of the mausoleum knights, those spectral figures who guard the walking tombs. They are unyielding, silent, and entirely devoted to their duty. Are they the spirits of those who served the headless demigods in life, bound to their lords even in death? Or are they constructs of the mausoleums themselves, extensions of its protective will? Their ethereal nature, shimmering and translucent, suggests a powerful spiritual connection to their charges, a loyalty that transcends the physical. Some believe they represent a dying echo of an ancient chivalric order, one that held allegiance to a different divine lineage than Marika's. The sheer scale and complexity of these mausoleums, coupled with their spectral guardians, suggest a forgotten magic, a form of animism or spiritual engineering that has been lost to the ages. And then we have the colossal golem guardians found throughout the lands between, often near significant sites or entrances to grand structures. These towering, stony figures, often with missing heads or broken limbs, hint at a forgotten era of formidable craftsmanship and power. Who built them? And for what purpose? They predate the Golden Order, their weathered forms speaking of immense age. Some conjecture they were crafted by the giants, before their war with Marika, as defensive structures or perhaps even as laboring machines. Their often damaged state suggests a long history of conflict, perhaps even fighting amongst themselves or against other ancient forces. The fact that some are still animated, albeit slowly and clumsily, suggests a lingering power, a dormant magic that continues to sustain them. The presence of the great watchdogs, those stone gargoyles found in catacombs and heroes' graves, also points to a lost art of animating stone. These creatures, often wielding intricate weaponry, are far more agile and aggressive than the lumbering golems. Are they a smaller, more refined version of golem craft, perhaps developed by a different ancient civilization? Their demonic faces and powerful attacks suggest a purpose beyond mere guarding. Perhaps they were designed as true combatants, infused with a more volatile form of animating magic. The catacombs themselves, often filled with such constructs, seem to be repositories of forgotten knowledge and dark arts, predating the Erdtree's grace. Let us turn our minds to the enigmatic figure of Sir Gideon Ofnir, the All-Knowing. We discussed his knowledge previously, but what of his true motivations? While he ostensibly seeks to become Elden Lord, his methods often appear contradictory. He gathers information, yes, but often seems to withhold crucial details, or even direct us towards dangers without full disclosure. Is his all-knowing title a boast or a prophecy? Some believe he is not truly seeking to become Elden Lord himself, but rather to accumulate enough knowledge to understand the nature of the Golden Order and its flaws, perhaps even to expose them. His ultimate goal might be to prevent anyone from truly becoming Elden Lord, or to ensure that the next Lord rules with a full understanding of the world's deep-seated issues. His final confrontation, where he claims that a man cannot kill a god, feels less like a desperate last stand and more like a final test, a philosophical challenge to the tarnished. Perhaps he believed that true enlightenment came from the pursuit of knowledge itself, not from the wielding of ultimate power. His libraries and his vast collection of lore suggest a man consumed by the mysteries of the universe, a scholar who may have lost his way in the pursuit of absolute truth. Consider the Albinaurics, those pale, artificial beings created in two distinct generations. The first generation, with their frog-like legs, and the second, with their human-like forms but fragile, unbending limbs. Who created them, and why? They are often found in secluded, forgotten places, treated as outcasts and subjects of experimentation. Some believe they are the creations of the Carian royal family, a magical experiment to create a subservient, obedient race. Their inherent weakness and often tragic fates, such as the Albinauric woman whose quest we embark upon, speak of a sad, artificial existence. The fact that they are tied to the Halig tree, sought out by Miquella's followers, suggests a potential role in his grand design, perhaps as a new form of life untouched by the curses of the lands between. Their very existence poses a profound ethical question. What does it mean to create life, and what responsibility does the Creator bear for the suffering of their creations? The Albinaurics, existing outside the natural order of birth and death, are a living testament to forbidden knowledge and the hubris of powerful magic. The great runes themselves hold a persistent mystery beyond their immediate power. While we know they are fragments of the shattered Elden Ring, are they merely pieces of a cosmic whole, or do they possess an inherent will or consciousness of their own? Each rune is tied to a specific demigod, reflecting their nature or their aspiration. Radan's rune, symbolizing unyielding might, millennias, representing the devastating beauty of rot. Do these runes actively influence their holders, or merely amplify their existing traits? Some theorize that the runes themselves are sentient, ancient fragments of the greater will's primal influence, subtly guiding the demigods towards specific destinies, even towards their inevitable demise. The act of collecting them, of binding them to the tarnished's will, feels like a reforging not just of power, but of destiny itself. Let us consider the nature of the Crucible Knights. These formidable warriors, clad in ancient, scale-like armor, wield a primordial form of magic, manifesting wings, tails, and breath attacks. They are consistently portrayed as paragons of loyalty and strength, yet their origins are shrouded in antiquity. They are said to be the first knights, serving Godfrey, then Marika, and even Morgoth. But what is the crucible they draw their power from? It is described as the primordial form of the Erdtree, a chaotic melting pot of life before the Golden Order imposed its rigid structure. This suggests that the Crucible Knights harness a raw, untamed form of life energy, a power that predates and perhaps even defies the strictures of the Golden Order. Their bestial aspects are not curses, but rather manifestations of this primal life force. Some believe they were not merely trained, but perhaps even born from the Crucible itself, imbued with its chaotic vitality. Their enduring loyalty, even to a tarnished order, speaks of a profound devotion to the concept of order itself, regardless of its specific form. And what of the fire monks, those devoted servants of the flame of ruin who guard the forge of the giants? Their fervent devotion, their self-flagellation, and their absolute rejection of the Erdtree's grace are striking. They believe the Erdtree to be anathema, an imposition that usurped a more ancient, purer form of fire. Their rituals, often involving burning effigies or self-immolation, suggest a profound spiritual connection to the destructive power they venerate. Are they simply misguided zealots, or do they hold a fragment of a forgotten truth, a memory of a time before the Erdtree, when fire was the dominant cosmic force? Their existence implies a deeper cosmic struggle between various divine principles: the Golden Order's light, the flame of ruin's destructive rebirth, and perhaps other, even older forces. Their chants and their solemn presence create an atmosphere of ancient, primal faith, a counter-narrative to the dominant religion of the lands between. The messengers, those bizarre, trumpet-wielding creatures found in the Miquella's Haligtree and the mountaintops of the giants, pose another delightful riddle. What are they, these small, bulbous beings whose trumpets summon larger versions of themselves? Are they spirits, constructs, or some strange, nascent form of life, unique to those isolated regions? Their trumpets produce a strange, almost mournful sound, and their gatherings often feel like a hidden ceremony. Some believe they are a form of nature spirit, perhaps tied to the Haligtree's unique ecosystem, or to the ancient, primordial powers of the mountains. Their larger counterparts, often capable of flight, suggest a deeper connection to the heavens or to unseen spiritual realms. Their purpose remains entirely unknown, yet their presence adds a layer of whimsical, yet unsettling mystery to the lands between. Are they observers, heralds, or perhaps even playful custodians of forgotten places? Then there are the colossal living jars, particularly Iron Fist Alexander, our beloved warrior jar. What is the nature of their existence? Are they animated pottery, living constructs, or a unique race whose biology is based on ceramic and liquid? Their internal organs seem to be a kind of viscous goo, and they consume the remains of warriors to grow stronger. This suggests a cyclical existence, a transformation of life and death, where the essence of fallen heroes is absorbed and reborn within the jars. Their jovial and honorable demeanor, especially Alexander's, adds a touch of warmth to their otherwise eerie existence. Some theorize they are a form of earth spirit, or perhaps the remnants of an ancient earthen race who learned to imbue vessels with their consciousness. Their traditions, such as the Grand Pot event, hint at a complex society and a culture of honor and martial prowess. The jars challenge our understanding of what constitutes life in the lands between, presenting a truly unique and endearing mystery. Consider the perplexing nature of the deathbirds and their connection to the ghost flame. These spectral skeletal avians, often accompanied by smaller death-rite birds, wield a chilling blue flame that burns the very soul. They seem to be guardians of ancient grave sites, remnants of a bygone era before destined death was sealed away. The ghost flame itself is a profound mystery. Is it a primordial form of death, distinct from the destined death controlled by Malekith? Its aesthetic, a cold ethereal blue, stands in stark contrast to the red-black flames of destined death. Some believe ghost flame is the original flame of death, existing before Marika's order, a natural part of the cycle that was later suppressed. The deathbirds, then, would be the ancient priests or manifestations of this primordial death, continuing their vigil in a world that has largely forgotten their ways. Their mournful cries and their spectral appearance evoke a deep sense of ancient loss and a chilling connection to the true nature of mortality. And finally, we must drift into the profound enigma of the Erdtree itself. We've spoken of its glory, its grace, but what is its true nature, its origin? While it is the symbol of the Golden Order, some ancient texts hint at it being an invasive species, or at least a monumental change to the lands between. There are whispers of a time before the Erdtree, when other great trees or cosmic entities dominated the landscape. The Crucible's existence as a primordial form of the Erdtree suggests a transformation, an evolution. But what prompted this change? Did the Greater Will plant it? Or did it arise from some deeper natural force that the Greater Will then co-opted? Its roots, said to stretch throughout the entire lands between, hint at a colossal, almost sentient network, a vast consciousness that subtly influences all life. The fire giants' hatred of it, and the ancient dragons fall from grace with its rise, speak of a violent transition, a conquest rather than a natural blossoming. Is the Erdtree a benevolent deity, or a parasitic force that drained the land of its previous vitality to fuel its own growth? The answers remain hidden, deep within its golden boughs, a mystery that continues to inspire reverence and fear in equal measure. We've drifted through many more mysteries and theories this night, each one a thread in the rich tapestry of the lands between, each whisper a potential truth in the vast, sleeping world of Elden Ring. Thank you for journeying with me through these quiet contemplations. Perhaps as you drift deeper, you might consider which of these ancient riddles speaks most strongly to you, which forgotten truth you feel might be closest to the heart of this fractured world. May your rest be peaceful, and your dreams filled with the gentle echoes of forgotten ages. We're drifting slowly into the mysteries of the lands between, tracing the faint lines of ancient lore and whispered possibilities, seeking solace in the quiet contemplation of its deepest enigmas. Consider now the curious case of the great runes, those fragments of the shattered Elden Ring, each bearing a unique power, each reflecting a shard of Marika's fractured divinity. We know they are powerful, granting immense strength to those who bear them, but what is their true nature beyond mere power? Are they simply conduits for the outer god's influence, or do they hold within them echoes of the Greater Will's initial design for the lands between? Some theorize that each great rune represents a fundamental aspect of the world's original order, a foundational law that Marika, in her wisdom or folly, codified and then scattered. Rykard's blasphemous rune, for instance, speaks of absorption and consumption, a hunger that might have once been a natural part of the world's cycle before the rigid Golden Order. Millennia's represents an unyielding bloom, a stubborn, beautiful resistance against an invasive corruption, perhaps hinting at a primal force of life and renewal. Each offers a glimpse into a potential alternative reality, a different path the lands between might have taken if the Elden Ring had remained whole, or if a different outer god had claimed dominance. And what of the outer gods themselves, those unseen, immense entities that pull at the strings of fate from beyond the cosmos? We speak of the Greater Will, the formless mother, the god of rot. But what are their origins? Are they truly gods, omnipotent creators, or merely colossal, ancient beings whose influence is so vast it appears divine? Some theories suggest they are not singular entities in the way we understand them, but rather convergent forces, expressions of universal principles or colossal cosmic phenomena that manifest as conscious wills within the lands between. The Greater Will, for example, might not be a conscious entity speaking through the two fingers, but an immense, impersonal law of causality, an overarching principle of order that simply is ma, and whose effects are then interpreted as divine will by its followers. Its silence, then, would not be a judgment, but merely the absence of a voice that never truly existed, only an irresistible momentum. This perspective reframes the entire conflict, making the demigods and the Tarnished not merely pawns, but active participants in shaping the very nature of these cosmic forces, giving them form and intention through their belief and action. Then there is the mystery of the Carian royal family, particularly the moon and its connection to sorcery. While Rani's path leads to the Age of Stars, the Carian's allegiance to the moon predates her ambitions. What is the nature of this moon? A silent, watchful entity that grants forth such potent magic? Is it another outer god, or something else entirely? Some whisper that the moon is not merely a celestial body, but a vast, conscious entity, ancient and indifferent, whose very essence resonates with intellectual and magical prowess. It does not speak, it does not command, but it offers a profound wellspring of knowledge and power to those who are patient and studious enough to commune with its silent wisdom. The Carian royal family, then, are not merely sorcerers, but astronomers and philosophers seeking to understand the universe through the lens of this cosmic beacon. The magic they wield is not just spells, but the application of universal laws observed and understood from the moon's perspective, a cold, logical beauty that stands in stark contrast to the fervent faith of the Golden Order. Their history, marked by both brilliance and tragedy, suggests a deep, almost symbiotic relationship with this celestial patron, a bond that transcends mere worship. And the dragons, those ancient venerable beings who once ruled the lands between before the Erdtree's dawn, their scales, their lightning, their sheer majesty speak of an era long past. But what was their relationship to the world and to the outer gods before the coming of Marika? Some lore fragments suggest that the dragons were not merely powerful beasts, but perhaps the original stewards of the lands between, living in a natural, balanced harmony with its raw, untamed forces. Their lightning, a primal force, might be an echo of an even older cosmic power, perhaps even the manifestation of a terrestrial outer god, a lord of the earth and sky that predated even the ancient dragons themselves. Their slow decline, the transition from stone scales to living flesh, could symbolize a fundamental shift in the world's essence, a move away from an eternal, unchanging existence towards a more mutable, mortal one. The dragons, in this view, are living fossils, remnants of a forgotten epoch, their continued existence a testament to a resilience that even the Golden Order could not fully extinguish. Let us now turn our thoughts to the enigmatic figure of Sir Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing. His vast library, his relentless pursuit of knowledge, all seemingly in service of the Golden Order. Yet his final confrontation reveals a chilling truth. He seeks to prevent the Tarnished from becoming Elden Lord. Why? Is it a twist of ambition, a desire to seize power for himself, or something deeper, more philosophical? Some theorize that Gideon, having accumulated so much knowledge, reached a terrifying conclusion, that no one, not even a Tarnished, should sit upon the Elden throne. For the throne itself is a curse, a mechanism for the outer gods to exert their dominion. Perhaps he saw the cycle of suffering and believed that the only true freedom for the lands between was to remain without a lord, in a state of perpetual struggle, free from the dictates of any god or any established order. His all-knowing title, then, becomes a burden, revealing a truth so bleak he felt compelled to act against the very grace he once championed, believing that true liberation lay in perpetual unruliness, in denying the very concept of an Elden Lord. And the Round Table hold, this strange, ethereal sanctuary that exists outside of space and time. It is a haven for Tarnished, yet its true purpose remains veiled. Is it truly a gift from the Two Fingers, a place of convergence for those chosen by grace, or something more ancient, something with its own subtle will? Some believe that the Round Table hold is not merely a building, but a fragment of an older, perhaps even pre-Erdtree, divine sanctuary, a place of spiritual power that has continually manifested throughout history, drawing to itself those who are destined to shape the future of the lands between. Its disembodied nature, its ability to persist despite the shattering, hints at a resilience beyond mortal comprehension. It acts as a crucible, a forge for heroes, guiding their path less through direct command and more through the very act of bringing them together, allowing their interactions and conflicts to shape the destiny of the world. The burning of the hold, then, would not just be a consequence of the player's actions, but a symbolic cleansing, a final breaking of old bonds, preparing the way for a truly new age, free from its subtle, guiding influence. Let's delve into the curious phenomenon of the Walking Mausoleums. These colossal, striding cathedrals, housing the bodies of headless demigods, are one of the most striking and haunting sights in the lands between. What is their purpose, and why do they wander without apparent direction? The most common theory is that they are tombs moving to protect their sacred cargo from defilers, or perhaps seeking a final resting place. But why headless, and why such immense, mobile structures? Some lore suggests that the headless demigods within are not truly dead, but in a state of suspended animation, awaiting a resurrection that may never come. Or perhaps they are the remnants of a failed attempt to mimic Godwyn's unique death. The mausoleums themselves could be ancient constructs, predating the Golden Order, repurposed by Marika's era, or even sentient beings in their own right, animated by a sorrowful, protective will. Their aimless wandering might symbolize the grief and disorientation of a world that has lost its balance, searching for a purpose that no longer exists, forever bearing their sacred, yet incomplete, dead. They are monuments to a profound failure, a promise of eternal life that was irrevocably broken. And what of the merchants, those nomadic, robed figures who dot the landscape, offering wares and cryptic advice? They are a resilient, almost timeless presence, often found in the most desolate and dangerous places. Who are they, and what is their true history? The prevailing theory is that they are descendants of the ancient nomadic peoples who were persecuted and forced into exile by the Golden Order, perhaps for their worship of the fell god, or for their adherence to older, outlawed traditions. Their enduring presence, their knowledge of forgotten paths and hidden lore, and their distinct musical instruments suggest a deep cultural heritage that predates the uniformity of the Erdtree's reign. They are survivors, carrying the memories of a subjugated past, their songs a lament for a world that has moved on without them. Their continued existence is an act of quiet defiance, a testament to the fact that not all aspects of the old world could be erased, that some truths persist in the shadows, carried by those who remain forgotten yet essential. The mysterious crafting system, allowing the Tarnished to combine mundane materials into powerful items. While seemingly a simple gameplay mechanic, its very existence hints at a deeper lore. Why does the Tarnished, and few others, possess this innate ability to transmute raw materials into useful tools and potent concoctions? Some theorize that this is an echo of the Crucible, a primordial ability inherent in all life, the capacity to create and adapt from the raw essence of the world. The Tarnished, being touched by grace and untethered from the stifling rigidity of the Golden Order, might be more attuned to this ancient, fundamental nature of reality. It speaks to a world that is not entirely ordered, not entirely defined, but still holds within it the potential for spontaneous creation, for new forms to emerge from chaos. It is a subtle power, yet one that underscores the Tarnished's unique position as both outsider and inheritor of the lands between's deepest, most ancient truths, the existence of the bell-bearings, which when given to the twin maiden husks, expand their inventory. These items are often found after defeating powerful foes or in significant locations. What is the nature of these bell-bearings? Are they merely a representation of a merchant's accumulated knowledge, or something more? Some believe they are not just tokens, but actual fragments of the departed merchant's soul or their life's essence, imbued with their unique trade. When given to the husks, these fragments are absorbed, and the husks, in their own mysterious way, gain access to the memories and skills of the fallen. This theory paints a more somber picture, suggesting that every bell-bearing offered is a small act of consumption, a transfer of a life's legacy, allowing the twin maidens to become a living archive of the lands between's forgotten trades and lost souls. They are silent recipients of countless individual histories, becoming a collective memory for a world that often forgets its own. And finally, consider the spirit ash summons, those ghostly allies who fight alongside the Tarnished. They are spirits, echoes of the deceased, bound to a bell and called forth. What is the true nature of their existence? Are they merely memories given form, or something more? Some believe that these spirit ashes are not just echoes, but fragments of souls, unable to fully pass on, lingering in the lands between, perhaps trapped by some lingering attachment, or by the fractured nature of death itself. The bell then is not just a summoning tool, but a sympathetic, resonating device, allowing the tarnished to connect with these lingering presences. Their loyalty and their willingness to fight, even in their spectral forms, speaks of a profound bond that transcends life and death, a testament to the enduring power of camaraderie and purpose, even after the body has failed. They are a poignant reminder that even in death, some things never truly fade, but continue to exist in a different, more ethereal form. We've drifted through many more mysteries and theories this night, each one a thread in the rich tapestry of the lands between, each whisper a potential truth in the vast, sleeping world of Elden Ring. Thank you for journeying with me through these quiet contemplations. Perhaps, as you drift deeper, you might consider which of these ancient riddles speaks most strongly to you, which forgotten truth you feel might be closest to the heart of this fractured world. May your rest be peaceful, and your dreams filled with the gentle echoes of forgotten ages. We're drifting slowly into the mysteries of the lands between, a land where every stone tells a story, every whisper holds a secret, and the very air is thick with forgotten lore, waiting for us to gently uncover its truths. And as we consider these echoes, these lingering presences, we might turn our thoughts to the very ground beneath our feet, to the origins of the Erdtree itself. We know it dominates the landscape, a colossal golden sentinel, but its roots run deeper than mere soil. Before the Erdtree, there was the Crucible, a primordial soup of life, a melting pot where all forms were once intertwined. But what precisely was the Crucible? Was it a physical place, a specific location on the map, or something more abstract, a state of being, a philosophical concept of nascent creation? Some ancient texts speak of it as the primordial form of the Erdtree, suggesting that the golden tree we see now is merely a refined, ordered version of something far more chaotic and untamed. Perhaps the Crucible was less a point in space and more a period in time, an era before the Golden Order imposed its rigid structure, when life was fluid, grotesque, and filled with manifold possibilities. The Omen with their horns and tails are often seen as throwbacks to this era, their bodies reflecting the unrefined, diverse forms of the Crucible. Their existence, therefore, isn't just a curse, but a living memory, a biological artifact of a time when the world was glorious in its wildness, before the Erdtree's grace sought to homogenize all life into its golden image. The very existence of the Crucible Knights, with their animalistic abilities and their ancient armor, hints at a powerful, established order that defended this primordial state, before the Erdtree fully asserted its dominance. Were these knights protectors of the Crucible, or were they co-opted, their forms and powers refined by the nascent Golden Order? And speaking of ancient powers and their transformations, let us consider the dragons. They are beings of immense power, survivors from an age that predates even the Erdtree's ascent. We encounter several, some hostile, some venerable, often bearing the scars of past conflicts. But what was their role before the Golden Order? Were they simply inhabitants, or were they the dominant power, the very architects of the world, much as the Greater Will later became? The remnants of their ancient civilization, scattered across the lands between, suggest a sophisticated and powerful society, one that understood the flow of lightning and the raw power of the storm. Placidusax, the Dragon Lord, existed at the very pinnacle of this age, a god to his people. His missing heads and his existence outside of time in FromSoftware speak of a trauma so profound it fractured his very being, and perhaps the dragon civilization itself. Some believe that the god Placidusax served was not an outer god, but an entity unique to the dragons, perhaps the very embodiment of the storms they commanded. When this god vanished, or was defeated, it left a void that allowed other powers, like the Greater Will, to ascend. The dragons, then, are not just powerful beasts, but living monuments to a lost empire, their scales shimmering with the echoes of a forgotten age, their roars a lament for a deity that no longer answers their calls. As we ponder these lost ages, our thoughts might drift to the mysterious finger readers, those wizened crones who appear throughout the lands between, their gnarled fingers perpetually twitching and gesturing. They speak in cryptic tones, offering pronouncements and guidance, seemingly connected to the two fingers, yet distinct. What is their true purpose? Are they merely interpreters, conduits for the will of the two fingers, or do they possess their own agency, their own ancient wisdom? Some theories suggest that the finger readers are not merely servants, but ancient priestesses or oracles, chosen long ago, perhaps even before the Erdtree's full ascendance, to communicate with the outer gods. Their blindness, and their almost mechanical movements, might indicate a profound sacrifice made in service of their communion, their earthly senses traded for a deeper connection to the cosmic energies. They are a bridge between our world and the unfathomable, their voices carrying the weight of millennia, their pronouncements guiding the tarnished through a labyrinth of divine wills. Their existence underlines the profound influence of these unseen, unfelt entities upon the fate of the lands between, an influence that permeates every aspect of existence, from the highest deity to the lowliest creature. And what of the great runes, those fragments of the Elden Ring, scattered among the demigods? We collect them, seeking to restore the ring, but what is their true nature? Are they simply powerful artifacts, or are they imbued with something more, a piece of Marika's very essence, or the greater will's power? Each great rune seems to reflect the personality or domain of its wielder, suggesting a profound connection. For instance, Godric's great rune, with its grafting motif, aligns with his grotesque ambition, while Millennia's, with its scarlet rot, mirrors her cursed affliction. Some believe that these great runes are not just pieces of the Elden Ring, but distilled concepts, fundamental laws of existence that were once a part of the unified cosmic order. When the Elden Ring shattered, these concepts were ripped apart, becoming tied to the demigods who inherited them. To reassemble the Elden Ring, then, is not just to collect physical pieces, but to reharmonize these fragmented concepts, to mend the very fabric of reality itself. The act of restoring the Elden Ring is thus a profound philosophical undertaking, a reordering of the universe, rather than a mere acquisition of power. This brings us to the demigods themselves, those children of Marika and Radagon, tainted by her lineage, yet blessed by the Elden Ring's power. Each one, in their own way, is a tragic figure, consumed by their own desires, their own curses. Consider Radon, the Star Scourge, who held back the very constellations. His devotion to his beloved horse, Leonard, even as he succumbs to the scarlet rot, is a poignant detail. Why did he halt the stars? Was it merely to prevent the fate imposed by the Golden Order? Or was there a deeper, more personal reason? Some believe that Radon's act was not simply an act of defiance against the Golden Order's cosmic dictates, but a desperate measure to protect something or someone. Perhaps he sought to prevent a specific star from falling, a star that held a particular destiny or a threat to the lands between. His mastery of gravity magic, allowing him to defy cosmic forces, hints at a profound understanding of the universe, a wisdom that extends beyond mere martial prowess. His eventual madness, then, is not just the result of the rot, but perhaps also the immense mental strain of holding back the very heavens, a cosmic burden he bore alone, for reasons we may never fully comprehend. He is a truly colossal figure, not just in size, but in the tragic grandeur of his sacrifice and his descent. And what of the various factions that populate the lands between, each with their own beliefs, their own goals? The Carian royal family, with their moon and star sorcery, stands in stark contrast to the Golden Order's faith. Their power derives from the cosmos, from the cold, distant light of the moon, rather than the warm, omnipresent glow of the Erdtree. What is the true origin of their sorcery? Is it a human invention, or was it granted by an outer god, perhaps the dark moon itself? Some theories suggest that the Carian royal family's connection to the moon is not merely symbolic, but a direct pact with an outer god, an entity that predates even the greater will's arrival in the lands between. The moon, in this context, is not just a celestial body, but a sentient entity, an ancient, powerful being that bestowed upon the Caria its unique magic. Their resistance to the Golden Order, then, is not just a political struggle, but a clash of cosmic patrons, a battle between opposing divine wills. Their legacy, etched in the very stars, suggests a deep and abiding connection to forces that transcend the immediate concerns of the lands between, forces that whisper of a universe far vaster and more mysterious than the confines of the Erdtree's grace. Consider also the demi-humans, those ape-like creatures who roam the wilds, often led by powerful chieftainesses. They are portrayed as primitive, yet they possess a communal structure, and some even wield rudimentary magic. What is their place in the grand tapestry of the lands between? Are they a failed experiment, a devolved race, or something else entirely? Some believe the demi-humans are not simply lesser beings, but a primordial race, perhaps even older than humans, who were pushed to the fringes by the rise of more civilized societies. Their connection to the Crucible is often cited, suggesting they are closer to the raw, untamed forms of life that predated the Golden Order's influence. Their reverence for their chieftainesses, who often wear regal finery, hints at a forgotten, more structured past, a time when they might have held greater significance. Their current state, then, is a testament to the brutal realities of power shifts in the lands between, a slow decline from what may have once been a prominent place in the world. They are a silent reminder of what happens to those who cannot adapt to the changing tides of cosmic influence and societal evolution. And in the hushed halls of the Round Table hold, we find smithing Master Hugh, endlessly hammering, endlessly forging. He is bound to his task, eternally forging armaments for the tarnished, a penance for a forgotten sin, or a devotion to a lost cause. What is his curse, his true history? We know he was once a blacksmith for the true tarnished, but what does that truly mean? Some whisper that Hugh is not merely cursed by Marika, but that his ceaseless labor is a self-imposed penance, a devotion to the very concept of the Elden Lord. He believes that by forging the perfect weapon, he can somehow help bring about the restoration of the Elden Ring, or at least aid the one who will. His fear of being forgotten, his constant plea to be remembered, suggests a deep connection to the idea of legacy and purpose, a fear that his endless sacrifices will ultimately be in vain. His existence is a microcosm of the lands between, a poignant tale of devotion, suffering, and the relentless pursuit of a forgotten ideal, all played out against the rhythmic clang of his hammer. Then there are the messengers, those strange, multi-eyed creatures who float through the air, often seen clustered around specific locations. They are silent, ethereal, seemingly harmless, yet their presence is undeniably otherworldly. What is their purpose? Are they observers, guardians, or something more? Some theories propose that the messengers are literal eyes of the greater will, or perhaps another outer god, sent to observe the events unfolding in the lands between. Their multiple eyes suggest an all-in-seeing nature, a silent witness to the unfolding drama. Their gentle, almost passive demeanor could be interpreted as a sign of their non-interventionist role, merely observing and relaying information to their unseen master. Their presence often coincides with significant lore locations or important events, subtly suggesting that they are drawn to moments of great cosmic or historical import. They are the silent chroniclers, the ethereal spies, their unblinking eyes reflecting the profound, hidden currents that flow beneath the surface of this fractured world. And as we delve deeper into hidden meanings, we might consider the very architecture of the lands between. The grandiose structures, the decaying castles, the hidden catacombs, each tells a story through its design. What is the significance of the recurring motifs, the symbols carved into stone, the patterns that seem to echo across diverse regions? Some scholars believe that the architecture itself is a form of ancient scripture, a visual language that conveys the history and beliefs of the various cultures that have risen and fallen. The intricate golden patterns of the Erdtree's influence, contrasted with the stark, angular lines of the ancient dragon's architecture or the celestial curves of the Carian structures, each speaks volumes about the ideologies and cosmological views of their builders. The crumbling ruins are not merely broken buildings, but fragments of a grand narrative, pieces of a vast, unspoken saga etched into the very landscape. To truly understand the lands between, one must not only read the sparse texts, but also learn to interpret the silent language of its stones and structures, for they hold memories deeper than any written word. Finally, let us turn our attention to the Tarnished's own journey, the relentless drive to become Elden Lord. Is this a destiny freely chosen, or are we merely puppets, guided by a higher power, by grace itself? The very nature of grace, its guidance, its temporary abandonment, suggests a selective, perhaps manipulative, force. What is the true agenda of this guiding light? Some believe that grace is not a benevolent force, but a tool of the greater will, a means to achieve its own ends, to restore an order that benefits it, not necessarily the lands between or its inhabitants. The Tarnished, then, is merely a vessel, a chosen instrument in a divine game, their free will an illusion. The moments when grace abandons us, particularly during moments of doubt or deviation from the expected path, could be seen as the greater will's way of subtly redirecting us, nudging us back onto its predetermined course. Our journey, therefore, may be less about forging our own destiny and more about fulfilling a preordained role, a grand cosmic play where our ultimate victory serves a purpose far beyond our own understanding. We are but a single note in a symphony composed by unseen hands, our actions echoing through the vast, silent halls of eternity. We've drifted through many more mysteries and theories this night, each one a thread in the rich tapestry of the lands between, each whisper a potential truth in the vast, sleeping world of Elden Ring. Thank you for journeying with me through these quiet contemplations. Perhaps as you drift deeper, you might consider which of these ancient riddles speaks most strongly to you, which forgotten truth you feel might be closest to the heart of this fractured world. May your rest be peaceful, and your dreams filled with the gentle echoes of forgotten ages. We're drifting slowly into the mysteries of the lands between, where every shadow holds a secret, and every whisper hints at a truth waiting to be unveiled. Consider the enigmatic messengers, those strange, multi-fingered creatures found perched on cliffs and high places, blowing their mournful horns. What is their purpose? Are they truly messengers? And if so, to whom do they deliver their plaintive calls? Some hypothesize they are remnants of a bygone era, perhaps even preceding the Golden Order, their music a vestige of an older, forgotten form of communication, a warning or a lament echoing across the ages. Their presence often coincides with significant landmarks or paths, suggesting a role as ancient sentinels or guides, though their messages remain unintelligible to us. It may be that they are blowing not to deliver a message, but to attract something, to summon a presence, or perhaps to ward off some unseen threat, their horns a sonic barrier against encroaching darkness. They are an enduring mystery, their quiet vigil a testament to the layers of history buried within the lands between. Then there is the curious case of the Walking Mausoleums, these colossal perambulating structures, each housing the remains of a soulless demigod. Why do they walk? What is the significance of their mobility? It is thought that the soulless demigods within cannot be resurrected in the Erdtree, their death lacking the true destined death that allows for reincarnation. Thus, the mausoleums are perhaps a desperate attempt to protect these precious remains, to keep them moving, forever evading any force that might seek to desecrate or further corrupt them. Some theories suggest their movement is a form of penance, an eternal wandering for the sins or failures of the demigods they carry. Or perhaps a last lingering defiance against the natural order, a refusal to remain still and fully embrace their soulless state. Their immense size and slow, deliberate pace evoke a sense of solemn procession, a perpetual funeral march across the landscape, their giant bells tolling a deep, resonant sorrow that vibrates through the very ground beneath our feet. Let us also ponder the strange phenomenon of the spirit caller snails. These creatures, seemingly innocuous, possess the ability to summon powerful spirits, often of fallen warriors or beasts. How do they achieve this? Is it a form of ancient magic, a connection to the veil between life and death? It is believed by some that these snails are not merely summoning spirits, but are acting as conduits for residual echoes of powerful beings, drawing upon the lingering essence of those who once roamed the lands between. Their fragile appearance belies an immense, almost cosmic power, hinting at a natural, inherent magic that predates much of the known sorcery and incantations. Perhaps they are a natural manifestation of the world's yearning for its past, a subconscious recall of its glorious, violent history, bringing forth spectral images to replay battles long concluded. They are a living testament to the idea that death in the lands between is not always an end, but sometimes a transformation, a lingering resonance. Consider the role of the Erdtree avatars, those colossal tree-like guardians found near minor Erdtrees. They seem to be direct extensions or manifestations of the Erdtree's will, defending its sacred roots and branches. But what exactly are they? Are they animated wood, spirits bound to the tree, or something else entirely? Some interpret them as the Erdtree's immune system, its physical response to threats, much like the body's defenses. Their cudgels, often imbued with golden light, suggest a direct channel to the Erdtree's power, a raw, untamed force of nature made manifest. It may be that they are ancient, forgotten entities, once perhaps guardians of a different kind, now repurposed and rebound to the will of the Erdtree, their original purpose obscured by the passage of countless ages. Their silent, steadfast vigil speaks volumes about the protective nature of the Erdtree, a silent, unyielding determination to preserve its dominance over the land. And what of the seemingly mundane, yet deeply unsettling sight of the many hands and arms reaching out from the ground, particularly in Caelid and the Altus Plateau? These grotesque formations, often petrified or skeletal, evoke a profound sense of suffering and despair. What catastrophe led to so many desperate grasps for release? It is widely theorized that these are the remains of those who succumbed to the scarlet rot, their bodies twisted and contorted in their final moments, their limbs reaching out in agony, forever frozen in a last, desperate plea. The sheer scale of these remains suggests an event of cataclysmic proportions, a plague that swept through the land with terrifying efficiency, leaving behind these silent, horrifying monuments to its devastation. They serve as a stark reminder of the rot's insidious power, its ability to warp and defile not just flesh, but the very landscape itself, leaving permanent scars on the earth. Let us delve into the peculiar case of the spirit springs, those swirling currents of air that launch us high into the sky. While mechanically useful, their existence within the lore remains somewhat unexplained. Are they natural phenomena, or a leftover vestige of ancient magic? Some speculate they are localized manifestations of the greater will's influence, or perhaps even the Erdtree's breath, subtle currents of its life force emanating from the earth. They could be residual magical conduits from a forgotten age of sorcery, or perhaps even the work of unseen benevolent spirits guiding travelers through treacherous terrain. Their unpredictable nature, appearing in specific locations, suggests a deliberate placement, hinting at a design rather than pure randomness. They are a small, quiet mystery, yet one that speaks to the deeper, unseen forces at play within the world. Then there is the curious nature of the runes themselves, beyond the great runes. These fragments, dropped by defeated foes, are described as shattered pieces of the Elden Ring, or grace of the Erdtree. Are they literally pieces of the shattered ring, or a metaphor for the life force that once flowed freely through it? It is believed by some that these runes are indeed tiny, residual fragments of the Elden Ring's power, imbued with the essence of life and order, which is why they can be absorbed to strengthen the tarnished. Their prevalence across the lands between, found within beasts, soldiers, and even minor creatures, speaks to the pervasive nature of the Elden Ring's influence before its shattering. Every creature, then, holds a tiny spark of that divine power, a memory of the world's original unified state. Collecting them is not just gaining power, but symbolically reassembling the broken pieces of a fallen cosmos, preparing for its eventual mending. Consider the strange, symbiotic relationship between the various creatures of the lands between and the Erdtree. Many animals, like the deer and elk, are adorned with golden leaves or have golden eyes, suggesting a deep connection to the Erdtree's grace. Is this a natural evolution, or a blessing bestowed upon them? It is thought that the Erdtree's influence permeated all life, imbuing it with its golden essence. These creatures are living testaments to the pervasive reach of the Golden Order's power, their very forms shaped by its grace. Perhaps they represent the ideal state of life under the unbroken Elden Ring, a harmonious existence where all beings are touched by its glow. Their placid nature, often only defending themselves when provoked, speaks to a natural order that, despite the shattering, still echoes a time of peace and abundance. Let us turn our attention to the mysterious messaging system, where players leave notes for one another across the lands between. While a game mechanic, within the lore, it begs the question, how do these messages appear? Are they truly messages from other Tarnished, or are they a manifestation of lingering thoughts, echoes of past travelers, or even the subtle nudges of unseen forces? Some believe they are a form of collective consciousness, a shared dream space connecting all Tarnished across different realities, allowing their intentions and warnings to coalesce into tangible forms. They could be whispers from the past, warnings from those who have failed, or even encouragement from those who have succeeded, their words briefly manifesting in the material world. It is a subtle, yet profound suggestion that despite the isolation of the lands between, there is an unseen network connecting all who walk its paths, a silent chorus of voices guiding and observing. And then there are the ominous cages, often filled with emaciated, hollowed creatures scattered throughout the lands between. These cages, sometimes carried by trolls, sometimes found in dungeons, speak of a dark history of experimentation and imprisonment. What was their purpose? Who were these prisoners? It is theorized that these cages were used to transport or contain those afflicted by the various curses and maladies of the lands between, perhaps those touched by the Omen curse, or those driven mad by the frenzied flame. They are a grim reminder of the cruelty that permeates the world, a testament to the lengths to which some would go to control or dispose of the unwanted. The creatures within, often silent and suffering, are a poignant symbol of the world's brokenness, their silent agony a haunting echo of forgotten injustices. Consider the strange, almost alien architecture of the eternal cities, built deep beneath the earth. While we know they were cast down by the greater will, their intricate, star-gazing designs suggest a deep connection to celestial bodies and a sophisticated understanding of cosmic forces. What were their beliefs? What was their true relationship with the stars? It is believed that the Nox, the inhabitants of these cities, worshipped the stars and sought to create their own Elden Lord, separate from the greater will's influence. Their architecture, with its celestial motifs and vast, open spaces, speaks of a people who looked not to the Erdtree, but to the heavens for guidance and power. They were a civilization of stargazers and dreamers whose ambitions ultimately led to their downfall, a tragic tale of defiance against a cosmic power. Let us ponder the lingering presence of the great caravans, those massive, often submerged wagons pulled by colossal trolls. What were they transporting? What was their ultimate destination? These caravans, often found abandoned or partially submerged, are believed to have been used to transport the bodies of those marked by the Erdtree, perhaps to burial sites or to places of ritual. Their slow, ponderous journey across the landscape evokes a sense of solemnity, a procession of the forgotten, their cargo a secret history of the fallen. It is possible they were transporting valuable relics, or even the remains of demigods, their journey a silent pilgrimage across a broken land. Their silent, unmoving presence is a testament to a journey interrupted, a purpose left unfulfilled, a quiet mystery frozen in time. And what of the Cuckoo Knights of Raya Lucaria, those who abandoned their allegiance to the Academy? Their defection, while seemingly a straightforward act of rebellion, carries deeper implications. What truly motivated their betrayal? Did they foresee the Academy's eventual decline, or were they swayed by a different power? Some believe their defection was a pragmatic choice, an attempt to align with perceived stronger forces, or perhaps a rejection of the Academy's stagnant, insular practices. It may be that they were disillusioned by the Academy's rigid dogmas or its perceived corruption, seeking a new path, a new allegiance. Their presence outside the Academy walls, often in conflict with its remaining forces, speaks of a civil war within the ranks of magic, a fractured ideology that tore apart once unified factions. Consider the perplexing case of the misbegotten, those horned, beast-like humanoids often found enslaved or marginalized. What is their origin? Are they a separate race, or a corrupted lineage? It is widely theorized that the misbegotten are related to the Omens, sharing similar physical traits and suffering similar prejudice. They could be a divergent branch of humanity, or perhaps a consequence of the Crucible's primordial energies, a throwback to an earlier, less refined form of life. Their oppression throughout the lands between speaks to a deeply ingrained prejudice within the Golden Order, a fear and rejection of anything that deviates from its idealized image of humanity. Their struggle for survival, often against overwhelming odds, is a silent testament to the cruelty of the world and the enduring spirit of those who are deemed undesirable. Let us delve into the subtle yet pervasive influence of the ancient dragons beyond Placidusax. While their age has passed, their presence is still felt through their architecture, their magic, and the lingering fear they instill. What was their original role in the lands between, before the Erdtree's ascent? It is believed that the dragons once ruled the lands between, their thunder and lightning sorceries dominating the skies. Their ancient ways, focused on strength and eternal life, represent a different cosmological order, one that predates the Golden Order's focus on grace and reincarnation. The vestiges of their power, still found in certain incantations and relics, speak of a profound elemental magic that predates the Erdtree's golden glow. Their silent, ruined temples are a testament to a forgotten empire, a power that once challenged even the greater will itself, leaving behind only echoes of its former glory. And what of the eerie, silent presence of the great runes themselves, now held by various demigods? While their power is immense, their true nature and the subtle ways they influence their bearers remain a mystery. Are they merely sources of power, or do they subtly warp the minds and wills of those who possess them? It is thought that the great runes, being fragments of the Elden Ring, carry not only power, but also a fragment of the previous order, subtly influencing the personalities and ambitions of their wielders. Each rune seems to resonate with a particular aspect of the world, a specific principle that shapes its bearer's destiny. Their silent influence, a slow corruption or amplification of existing traits, speaks to the insidious nature of power, how even a divine blessing can become a curse, shaping destiny in unforeseen ways. Consider the various forms of madness that plague the lands between, from the frenzy of the Three Fingers to the quiet despair of many NPCs. What are the underlying causes of this widespread psychological decay? Is it merely the trauma of the shattering, or something more fundamental? It is believed that the shattering of the Elden Ring not only broke the physical world, but also fractured the minds of its inhabitants, leaving them susceptible to various forms of madness and despair. The pervasive sense of loss, the constant struggle for survival, and the exposure to ancient, cosmic horrors all contribute to the widespread mental instability. The lands between, then, is not just a battleground for physical power, but also a crucible for the human spirit, where sanity itself is a precious, fragile commodity, constantly under threat. Let us ponder the subtle ecological shifts across the lands between, particularly how certain regions are dominated by specific flora and fauna, often reflecting the dominant power or curse in that area. For instance, the rot-infested Caelid, or the frosty peaks of the mountaintops. Are these transformations natural, or are they direct consequences of the various demigods' powers and curses? It is theorized that the demigods' great runes and the various cosmic influences they embody directly impact the environment, shaping its very ecology. Millennia's rot, for example, has physically transformed Caelid into a festering wasteland, while the ancient ice of the mountaintops reflects a primordial, untamed power. The lands between is a living, breathing canvas, constantly being reshaped and scarred by the conflicts and powers that rage within it, its landscape a direct reflection of its tumultuous history. Finally, let us consider the ultimate goal of the Tarnished's journey, becoming Elden Lord. But what does it truly mean to be Elden Lord in a shattered world? Is it to restore the old order, to create a new one, or simply to take the throne? Some believe that becoming Elden Lord is not merely about wielding power, but about choosing a path for the lands between, imbuing the shattered Elden Ring with a new guiding principle. The different endings available to the Tarnished suggest that the title of Elden Lord is less about a predetermined role and more about a choice, a declaration of intent for the future of the world. It is a burden, a responsibility to shepherd a broken land, and the nature of that stewardship is entirely dependent on the Tarnished's own convictions. We've drifted through many more mysteries and theories this night, each one a thread in the rich tapestry of the lands between, each whisper a potential truth in the vast, sleeping world of Elden Ring. Thank you for journeying with me through these quiet contemplations. Perhaps, as you drift deeper, you might consider which of these ancient riddles speaks most strongly to you, which forgotten truth you feel might be closest to the heart of this fractured world. May your rest be peaceful, and your dreams filled with the gentle echoes of forgotten ages. We drift now, further still, into the quiet corners of this fragmented world, contemplating the very nature of grace itself, that golden light that guides the tarnished. It is, ostensibly, a blessing from the greater will, a guiding hand to lead us back to the Erdtree and the role of Elden Lord. Yet, if the greater will is indeed a benevolent entity, or even one that still actively involves itself in the affairs of the lands between, why then is its guidance so often cryptic, so indirect, and at times seemingly contradictory? Some whisper that grace is not a direct command, but rather a subtle nudge, a suggestion rather than an imperative, reflecting the fractured will of a distant deity. Others propose that grace is not singular in its origin, but rather a confluence of forces, a resonance of purpose emanating from various entities, perhaps even Marika herself, or some forgotten echo of the primordial crucible, all converging to pull the tarnished towards a specific destiny. It is a subtle current, a whisper on the wind, rather than a booming voice from the heavens, leaving much to interpretation and, crucially, to the tarnished's own free will. Consider the role of the spirit ashes, those spectral companions who fight alongside us. They are not merely summons, but echoes of souls, remnants of beings who once walked the lands between. How do they retain their memories, their fighting prowess, and their loyalty beyond death? Is it a form of lingering trace energy, a spiritual imprint on the very fabric of the world? Or is it a more active magic, a binding spell that allows them to manifest? Some theories suggest that the spirit ashes are intimately connected to the concept of the Erdtree's spiritual roots, a vast network that perhaps holds on to the essence of those who have passed on. Perhaps they are not truly dead, but merely sleeping within the Erdtree's embrace, roused only by the unique power of the tarnished who can perceive and command them. They offer a poignant glimpse into the persistence of life beyond its conventional end, a constant reminder that death in the lands between is often merely a transition, a shift in form rather than a complete cessation of being. Let us turn our minds to the enigmatic figure of Sir Gideon Ofnir, the all-knowing. His vast library, his relentless pursuit of knowledge, and his ultimate betrayal of the tarnished, all speak to a complex individual. He sought to become Elden Lord through understanding, believing that true power lay in comprehensive knowledge of all things. But what was the true extent of his knowledge? Did he truly understand the greater will's motives, or was his interpretation colored by his own ambition and desire for control? Some believe Gideon, despite his title, was ultimately blinded by his own intellectual pride, unable to see beyond the written word or the spoken prophecy. He may have collected all the pieces of the puzzle, but perhaps he failed to grasp the true picture, the subtle nuances of divine will and human ambition that ultimately shape the fate of the lands between. His downfall, then, was not a lack of knowledge, but a failure of wisdom, a common failing in a world where power often corrupts even the most learned minds. The Round Table Hold itself, that spectral sanctuary, suspended outside of time and space, offers another fascinating mystery. It exists as a shared consciousness, a place where tarnished from different moments in time and realities converge. How does it manifest? Is it a physical place, somehow severed from the regular flow of the lands between, or is it a purely spiritual construct, a shared dream, or collective memory? Some theorize that the Round Table Hold is a manifestation of the collective will of the Two Fingers, a safe haven created by their power to guide and protect the tarnished. Others suggest it is an echo of a more ancient gathering place, a spiritual residue left behind by countless past tarnished who sought the Elden Ring. It serves as a reminder that the journey of the tarnished is not solitary, but connected to a lineage of aspirants, all drawn to the same ultimate goal, their paths converging in this timeless crucible of ambition and purpose. Consider the enigmatic messages left by players across the lands between, those glowing orange runes that offer advice, warnings, or sometimes just a moment of humor. They are not part of the game's inherent lore, yet they undeniably color the experience of traversing this world. How do they exist within the narrative framework? Are they echoes from other realities, other tarnished on their own parallel journeys? Or are they a subtle manifestation of the greater will's fragmented communication, a collective unconscious effort to guide and assist? It's a playful meta-mystery, a breaking of the fourth wall that paradoxically deepens the sense of shared struggle within the lands between. They speak to a common humanity, Even in a world populated by gods and monsters, a silent camaraderie amongst those who brave the same dangers, offering a helping hand across the veil of individual experience. The various merchants scattered across the lands between, like Kale and Gostock, also present an intriguing puzzle. They remain largely untouched by the Shattering's chaos, maintaining their trade despite the widespread conflict and the perils of the wilderness. How do they survive? Do they possess some hidden protection, some subtle grace that shields them from the rampant dangers? Some believe they are connected to ancient trade routes and traditions that predate the Erdtree itself, their existence rooted in a deeper, more resilient order. Perhaps they are not merely merchants, but guardians of localized peace, their presence maintaining a fragile semblance of normalcy in places otherwise consumed by strife. Their unwavering commitment to commerce, even in the face of apocalypse, offers a strange comfort, a testament to the enduring human or demi-human spirit to exchange and survive. And the Walking Mausoleums, those colossal, lumbering stone structures forever bearing the burden of a deceased demigod. What is their true purpose? Are they merely monuments, or do they serve some deeper function beyond memorializing the dead? The ability to duplicate remembrances within them suggests a magical property, a connection to the very essence of the demigods they carry. Some theorize they are not just tombs, but perhaps even a form of life support, sustaining the lingering spirit of the demigod within, allowing their power to persist even in death. Their slow, deliberate movements across the landscape evoke a sense of ancient pilgrimage, a silent, mournful procession carrying the weight of a bygone era, their very existence a somber reminder of the demigod's tragic fate and the lingering power they still command. The peculiar phenomenon of the frenzied flame villages, like the one in the Weeping Peninsula, where entire populations are afflicted with madness. Is this a contagion, a magical disease that spreads through proximity? Or is it a spiritual affliction, a corruption of the soul caused by exposure to the raw essence of the frenzied flame? The despair and anguish that permeates these locations suggest a profound suffering, a complete loss of self. Some believe the frenzied flame is not merely a destructive force, but a seductive one, offering a release from the pain of existence through universal annihilation. The villagers, then, may not be unwilling victims, but rather those who have succumbed to its terrible allure, seeking oblivion in its fiery embrace. It represents a terrifying alternative to the structured orders of the greater will, a path to ultimate freedom through absolute destruction. Let us also consider the curious nature of the various crafting materials found throughout the lands between. Why are certain plants and creatures imbued with specific magical properties? Is it a natural evolution or a direct consequence of the world's constant exposure to divine and arcane energies? The presence of specific herbs and minerals, like the roa fruit or the golden runes that litter the landscape, implies a deeper connection between the material world and the spiritual forces that govern it. Some theories suggest that the very essence of the Elden Ring, or its shattered fragments, have imbued the land with latent magical potential, affecting flora and fauna alike. Every leaf, every stone, every creature, then, holds a fragment of the world's inherent magic, waiting to be discovered and harnessed by those who understand its secrets. The lore surrounding the various covenants, such as the Volcano Manor or the Mogwin dynasty, also paints a picture of conflicting ideologies and hidden agendas beyond the immediate struggle for the Elden Ring. These factions offer alternative paths, different visions for the future of the lands between, each with its own justifications and moral complexities. Are any of these paths truly good or evil, or are they simply different manifestations of power and conviction in a morally ambiguous world? Some believe these covenants represent the lingering echoes of primordial conflicts, ancient rivalries that predate even the Erdtree and the Greater Will, resurfacing in the chaos of the Shattering. They serve as a constant reminder that the struggle for dominance is multifaceted, extending beyond the immediate goal of becoming Elden Lord, delving into the very foundations of belief and purpose that define this fractured realm. The history of the Carian royal family, with their moon magic and their intricate lineage, also holds many layers of mystery. Their sorcery, distinct from the Golden Order's incantations, speaks to an older, perhaps even alien, source of power. Where did their moon-based magic truly originate? Was it from a celestial body, a direct gift from the cosmos, or did they discover and cultivate this power through diligent study and esoteric rituals? Some speculate that the Carian family's magic is tied to the very cycles of the moon, a cosmic dance that imbues them with unique arcane abilities. Their connection to the stars and the night sky suggests a profound understanding of universal forces, a wisdom that transcends the earthly concerns of the Erdtree and its golden lineage, offering a glimpse into a broader, more ancient cosmology that governs the lands between. And finally, the very concept of the Age of Fracture itself, the state in which we find the lands between. Is it merely a period of chaos and strife, or does it hold a deeper, perhaps even necessary purpose in the grand cosmic scheme? The shattering of the Elden Ring, while catastrophic, has also unleashed new possibilities, new paths for the future. Some believe the Age of Fracture is a transitional period, a necessary breaking down of the old order to allow for the emergence of something new, something perhaps more resilient or more adaptable. It is a time of immense challenge, but also a time of unparalleled opportunity, where the fate of the world rests not in the hands of a single divine entity, but in the choices and convictions of those who dare to seek a new beginning. We've drifted through even more mysteries and theories this night, each one a shimmering, elusive truth in the vast, sleeping world of Elden Ring, each whisper a potential key to understanding its profound depths. Thank you for journeying with me through these quiet contemplations, allowing your mind to wander through the echoes of forgotten ages. Perhaps as you drift deeper into slumber, you might consider which of these ancient riddles speaks most strongly to your inner spirit, which forgotten truth you feel might be closest to the heart of this fractured world, awaiting discovery. May your rest be peaceful, and your dreams filled with the gentle echoes of forgotten ages. We're drifting slowly into the mysteries of the lands between, allowing the soft currents of speculation and forgotten lore to carry us deeper into its enigmatic embrace. Let us consider the grand tapestry of the giants' mountaintops and the hidden truths they conceal, a place of perpetual winter that seems to defy the very warmth of the Erdtree. Why, despite the Erdtree's vast golden reach, does this region remain locked in an eternal frost? Is it merely a consequence of geography, or is there a deeper, magical reason? Some theories suggest that the giants themselves, even in their defeat and near extinction, exert a lingering influence over the land, their ancient magic of fire and ice still subtly shaping the environment. Perhaps their defeat was not absolute, their power merely dormant, manifesting as this unending winter. The towering peaks and desolate snowfields whisper of primordial forces, of a time before the Golden Order, when elemental powers held sway. It may be that the very spirit of the fire giant bound to the forge keeps this region frozen, a constant reminder of the war that was waged and the price paid for the Erdtree's dominance. Then there is the curious anomaly of the Great Jar, a colossal, silent sentinel residing in Caelid, surrounded by the remnants of long-dead warriors. Its purpose, its origin, and the nature of the duels fought before it remain shrouded in obscurity. Why does it demand these challenges from Tarnished, and what is the reward for victory? Is it a test of strength, a rite of passage for those seeking an audience with some unknown entity, or perhaps merely a remnant of an ancient, forgotten ritual, its original meaning lost to the sands of time? Some believe the Great Jar serves as a guardian, a silent judge of worthiness, protecting a secret or a path that only the truly formidable can access. Others speculate it is a vessel, collecting the essence of the fallen warriors, though for what ultimate purpose we cannot say. The stillness around it, broken only by the clang of steel, suggests a profound mystical significance, a deep connection to the history of the lands between that predates even the Golden Order's memory. It stands as a testament to the myriad forces and strange traditions that continue to shape this world, even without the direct intervention of the gods. And what of the enigmatic merchants, those wandering souls who populate the lands between, often found in the most desolate and unexpected places? Their faces are hidden beneath conical hats, their speech often cryptic, yet they offer invaluable goods and services. Who are they truly, and why do they journey tirelessly through such dangerous lands? Their connection to the nomadic merchants, those who were once buried alive in the subterranean shunning grounds for their beliefs, hints at a hidden history of persecution and a deep-seated resilience. Some theories propose that these living merchants are survivors, descendants, or even spiritual inheritors of those ancient traditions, carrying on a sacred duty to trade and connect the fractured world. It may be that their wanderings are not merely for commerce, but also for observation, for knowledge gathering, acting as silent chroniclers of the lands between's slow decay. Their music, always melancholic and haunting, speaks of ancient sorrows and a longing for a home lost or never found, suggesting a collective memory of profound suffering and an enduring, quiet dignity. Their nature reminds us that even in a world of demigods and grand conflicts, the humble and the unseen play their own vital roles, possessing their own secrets and their own enduring mysteries. The nature of spirit ashes, those spectral companions who aid us in battle, is another profound mystery. How are these echoes of the fallen called forth, and what is the source of their enduring loyalty? Are they true spirits, bound to an object, or are they manifestations of memory and will, conjured by a forgotten magic? Some believe that the spirit ashes are not merely echoes, but fragments of souls, preserved and given form by a unique form of sorcery, perhaps related to the power of Deathroot, or another, even older, spiritual practice. The ability to summon them, to give form to the intangible, speaks to a deep understanding of the soul's nature and its lingering presence beyond death. It may be that the bell that calls them is not just a tool, but a key to a spiritual plane, allowing a temporary bridge between the living and the departed. Their varied forms, from common soldiers to legendary heroes, suggest a broad spectrum of beings who have left their mark upon the world, their essence now available to those who possess the rare gift of calling them forth. This practice hints at a nuanced understanding of death and afterlife in the lands between, far more complex than simple oblivion, where the will to fight can endure even beyond the veil. Consider the eerie puppets found throughout the lands between, particularly those crafted by sorcerer Rogier and the secretive Seluvis. While Seluvis's puppets are clearly tied to his dark and manipulative sorcery, the existence of other, more primal puppets, often found in ruins and catacombs, raises unsettling questions. Are they merely constructs, or do they possess a form of artificial life, perhaps animated by a diluted form of the animating principle known as the spirit? Some theories suggest that certain ancient puppets might be vessels for lesser spirits or lingering echoes of human consciousness, trapped within their wooden or metallic forms. The way they move, often with a jerky, unnatural grace, suggests a life force that is not quite organic, yet undeniably present. It may be that the crafting of puppets, in its oldest forms, was an attempt to mimic life, to capture and contain a fragment of the soul, a practice that, while perhaps crude, held immense magical potential in a world where life and death hold such fluid definitions. The thought of a soul, perhaps even a consciousness, trapped within these inanimate forms, enduring an existence of endless, silent servitude, adds another layer of melancholic mystery to the lands between. The origins of the misbegotten, those horned, beast-like humanoids often found enslaved or cast out, are also shrouded in secrecy and sorrow. Are they a distinct race, a cursed lineage, or perhaps a byproduct of some ancient, forgotten experimentation? Their fierce loyalty to certain figures, like Leonine Misbegotten, suggests a complex social structure and a deep-seated sense of community, despite their widespread persecution. Some theories propose that the Misbegotten are a remnant of the Crucible, that primordial soup of life before the Erdtree, a lineage that carries the indelible marks of that ancient, chaotic existence deemed impure by the Golden Order. Their physical characteristics, a blend of human and beast, speak of a time when the boundaries between species were less defined, when life was still finding its form. It may be that their very existence is a challenge to the Golden Order's rigid definitions of purity and grace, a living testament to a wilder, untamed past that the Erdtree sought to suppress. Their plight, their role as outcasts and laborers, speaks volumes about the intolerance and fear that underpins the Golden Order's seemingly benevolent reign. And what of the various types of runes that litter the lands between beyond the great runes themselves? The small golden runes dropped by enemies, the rarer, more potent variations, and the enigmatic Scadutree fragments found in the shadow of the Erdtree expansion. What is their true nature, and how do they function as the very currency and essence of life in this world? Are they simply fragments of the Elden Ring, imbued with its power, or are they manifestations of a deeper cosmic energy, harnessed and shaped by the ring? Some believe that these lesser runes are the very building blocks of reality, tiny shards of the fundamental laws that govern the lands between, capable of being absorbed to bolster one's strength, or used to purchase goods. The idea that life itself can be exchanged, accumulated and spent, suggests a profoundly magical and metaphysical economy, where existence and power are intimately intertwined. The new Erdtree fragments, with their mysterious properties in the Land of Shadow, indicate entirely new forms of runic energy, perhaps even older or more fundamental than those derived from the primary Erdtree, hinting at different cosmic trees or sources of power that once flourished in forgotten realms. This constant presence of runic energy, in all its forms, is a silent, pervasive mystery, a reminder that the very fabric of this world pulsates with an unseen, potent force, constantly influencing and shaping the destinies of all who dwell within its fractured embrace. The curious case of the Walking Mausoleums, those colossal perambulating structures that house the remains of demigods, also presents a profound enigma. How do they move, and what is the nature of their sentience, if any? Their solemn, lumbering gait and their presence in varied landscapes suggest a purpose beyond mere burial. Some theories posit that these mausoleums are not merely tombs, but a form of living memorial, powered by the lingering spirits or even the very will of the demigods they contain, perpetually seeking a final resting place or guarding their sacred remains from desecration. The bells that hang beneath them, tolling with a deep, resonant sound, might be more than just warning signals. Perhaps they are a lament, a perpetual hymn for the fallen, or even a magical mechanism that aids in their locomotion or spiritual preservation. The idea that a structure of such immense scale could possess agency, however limited, speaks to a world where the line between object and being is often blurred. Their existence is a poignant testament to the reverence, and perhaps also the fear, with which demigods are regarded, even in death, suggesting that their power continues to resonate long after their mortal coil has been shed, guiding these colossal guardians through the broken lands as eternal wanderers. And what of the strange, ethereal jellyfish, often found near sacred sites or in misty areas, their forms glowing gently with an inner light? They seem harmless, almost sentient in their serene drifting, yet their presence often indicates a connection to profound spiritual energies or forgotten lore. Their dialogue, when deciphered, sometimes hints at longing for a lost companion or a connection to ancient prophecies. Are they merely creatures, or are they spirits in a unique form? Perhaps souls that have taken on a new, ethereal existence. Some believe the jellyfish are manifestations of innocent souls, perhaps children, or those who died without malice, their forms reflecting a purity of spirit that allows them to interact with the spiritual world in ways others cannot. Their luminescence might be a visible representation of their inner grace or their connection to some unseen source of light and life. It may be that their gentle presence near sacred places is not coincidental, but rather a form of silent guardianship, or perhaps they are drawn to these sites of power, acting as passive conduits for the lingering magic. Their very existence adds a touch of fragile beauty and quiet wonder to the lands between, reminding us that even in despair, there are beings of gentle, enduring mystery that drift through the world, carrying their own untold stories and seeking their own quiet destinies. The origins of the grafted scions, those grotesque, multi-limbed creatures that serve as early guardians and harbingers of the Shattering's horror, also remain largely unexplained. While we know Godric practices grafting, the scions seem to predate his more direct interventions, often appearing as distinct entities. Are they entirely Godric's creations, or are they a natural, horrific consequence of the Shattering itself, an involuntary mutation born from the Elden Ring's fracture? Some theories suggest that the grafted scions are not merely products of Godric's will, but perhaps an older, more primal form of grafting that existed before his time, a dark art that corrupts and coalesces disparate body parts into a single, monstrous entity. Their presence in numerous locations, often guarding significant sites, hints at a widespread, almost viral, spread of this horrific transformation far beyond the direct influence of a single demigod. It may be that the very act of the Elden Ring's shattering and the subsequent decay of the Golden Order unleashed a latent, horrifying potential within life itself, allowing for such unnatural combinations to manifest without direct magical intervention. The Scions stand as a brutal testament to the raw, uncontrolled power that was unleashed upon the lands between, a physical manifestation of the world's deep-seated trauma and the gruesome ways in which life can be twisted and reformed in the wake of cosmic catastrophe. And what of the various types of plants and flora that possess explicit magical properties? The golden runes, the roa fruit, the various crafting materials that subtly influence our abilities. Are these merely mundane resources imbued with magic, or are they themselves living manifestations of the lands between's mystical energies? The existence of the Erdtree and the Erdtree suggests a deep connection between plant life and cosmic power. Some believe that the entire ecosystem of the lands between is inherently magical, that the very soil and air are saturated with the remnants of the Elden Ring's power, allowing ordinary plants to develop extraordinary properties. The ability to craft powerful items from seemingly humble ingredients suggests a deep, symbiotic relationship between the natural world and the arcane. It may be that certain plants act as natural conduits for specific types of magical energy, absorbing and concentrating it in their leaves, fruits, or roots. This idea paints a picture of a living, breathing world where magic is not merely cast, but grown and harvested, a fundamental part of the biological cycle. The distinct properties of plants found in different regions, from the poisonous swamps of Caelid to the freezing peaks of the mountain tops, further support this notion, suggesting that the environment itself shapes and imbues the flora with unique and powerful magical essences, making the very landscape a source of ongoing natural mystery. The nature of the various bell bearings and their function within Round Table Hold is another subtle yet intriguing puzzle. Why do these specific merchants, upon their death, leave behind these unique items that allow their wares to be purchased by the twin maiden husks? Is it a form of spiritual inheritance, a last will and testament that transcends death? Or is there a deeper magical mechanism at play? Some theories suggest that the bell bearings are not merely physical objects, but rather spiritual anchors, containing the essence of the merchant's trade and their connection to the world of commerce. When presented to the twin maiden husks, these anchors allow the husks, who seem to possess a unique connection to the spiritual realm, to manifest the deceased merchant's inventory. It may be that the bell bearings are a specific type of sacred relic, a pact made between merchants and some unseen force that ensures their legacy of trade continues even beyond their mortal existence. The fact that only certain specific merchants leave these behind implies a special status or a particular spiritual disposition that allows for this posthumous continuation of their craft. This mechanism adds a layer of quiet, almost bureaucratic magic to the lands between, suggesting that even commerce is subject to the world's profound, mystical laws, ensuring that the flow of goods and services persists, even as individuals fall and kingdoms crumble. And finally, the very structure of the Round Table Hold itself, the sanctuary that exists outside of time and space, yet is accessible to all tarnished. How does it exist, and what is its true purpose? Is it a magical construct, a spiritual refuge, or a literal fragment of another dimension? Its unchanging nature, despite the chaos of the lands between, hints at a profound, stable power. Some believe that Round Table Hold is not merely a physical place, but a spiritual reflection, a manifestation of the collective will and grace of the tarnished, drawn together by a shared purpose. It may be that it is a pocket dimension, created and sustained by a powerful ancient magic, perhaps even a vestige of the greater will's influence, providing a safe haven for its chosen. The presence of figures like the twin maiden husks and Sir Gideon Ofnir, who seem deeply connected to its essence, suggests that it is more than just a gathering place. It is a vital nexus of power and information. The fact that it is a place where one can mend and regroup, free from the immediate dangers of the outside world, suggests a deliberate, almost divine intervention to aid the tarnished in the quest. Its existence remains one of the most foundational and enduring mysteries, a constant reminder that even amidst the ruin and decay, there are places of inexplicable stability and purpose existing on the very edges of reality, silently watching the unfolding drama of the lands between. We've drifted through even more mysteries and theories this night, each one a shimmering, elusive truth in the vast, sleeping world of Elden Ring, each whisper a potential key to understanding its profound depths. Thank you for journeying with me through these quiet contemplations, allowing your mind to wander through the echoes of forgotten ages. Perhaps as you drift deeper into slumber, You might consider which of these ancient riddles speaks most strongly to your inner spirit, which forgotten truth you feel might be closest to the heart of this fractured world, awaiting discovery. May your rest be peaceful, and your dreams filled with the gentle echoes of forgotten ages. We're drifting slowly into the mysteries of the lands between, where every shadow holds a secret, and every whisper hints at a truth, inviting us to explore the quiet corners of this broken yet beautiful world. Consider now the enigma of the Walking Mausoleums, those colossal stone behemoths that roam the lands between on their many legs, carrying the remains of royalty. What force animates these enormous structures, and for what ultimate purpose do they wander? They house the bodies of soulless demigods, allowing us to duplicate their remembrances, but the mechanics of their movement and their very existence are deeply shrouded. Some believe that these mausoleums are not merely constructs, but living entities, perhaps even ancient stone giants, imbued with a sacred duty to protect the legacies of those who held great power. Their slow, deliberate pace, their solemn bells tolling with each heavy step, suggest a mournful pilgrimage, a perpetual lament for the dead they carry. It may be that they are sustained by a form of golem magic, a forgotten art that breathes life into inanimate stone, but on a scale far grander than anything else we encounter. The fact that they are often found near sacred sites or places of historical significance further deepens their mystery, implying a connection to the very fabric of the lands between's past. Their presence is a constant moving monument to the fragility of life and the enduring power of death, a silent, stony vigil in a world that has forgotten much. Then there is the quiet, almost overlooked lore surrounding the various spirit summons we encounter. From the spectral wolves to the ghostly jellyfish, these apparitions fight alongside us, their loyalty unwavering. But what are they, truly? Are they echoes of living creatures bound by some magical pact? Or are they literally the souls of the departed, called back to fight once more? The spirit tuner, Roderica, speaks of them as remnants of souls too weak to find their way to the Erdtree, suggesting a liminal state, a sort of purgatory for the lesser spirits. Some theorize that the bells that summon them, the spirit calling bell, act as a conduit, tapping into the lingering spiritual energy within the lands between, drawing these lost souls to our aid. It may be that these spirits are not fully individual, but rather fragments of a greater spiritual consciousness, a collective memory of the world's past inhabitants, eager to lend their strength to a new champion. Their spectral forms, their ethereal glow, and their often mournful cries hint at a lingering attachment to the living world, a desire to participate even after death has claimed them. They are a testament to the persistent spiritual life of the lands between, a world where even the dead continue to play a role, albeit a ghostly one. We might also ponder the enduring question of the great runes themselves. While we know they are fragments of the shattered Elden Ring, and each grants a specific, powerful boon, their ultimate nature and the full extent of their influence remain somewhat ambiguous. Are they merely pieces of a cosmic puzzle, or do they possess a consciousness, a will of their own, however faint? The fact that they seek out a chosen tarnished, and that their power can be activated through various means, suggests a deeper, almost sentient quality. Some believe that the great runes are not just fragments of power, but also fragments of Marika's divine will, imbued with her essence and her desire for the ring to be reformed. It may be that each rune carries a whisper of the Golden Order's original intent, a piece of the grand design, waiting to be reassembled. The way they resonate with the demigods who possess them, often shaping their personalities and ambitions, further supports the idea of their profound, transformative power. They are more than just magical artifacts. They are echoes of a broken god, waiting for the one who can make them whole again. Let us turn our thoughts to the curious case of Bok the seamster. This humble, kind-hearted demi-human, transformed into a tree by his mother, desires only to be beautiful, to be recognized for his worth. His story, though small, is deeply resonant, touching upon themes of self-worth, parental love, and the longing for acceptance. But who was his mother, truly, and why did she transform him into a tree? Was it an act of protection, a desperate attempt to save him from a cruel world, or a misguided act of love that ultimately caused him suffering? The nature of this transformation, and its apparent reversibility through the use of a magical needle points to a unique form of magic, perhaps connected to the power of the Erdtree itself, or a forgotten demi-human art. Some theorize that his mother, in her love, sought to make him as enduring and beautiful as the Erdtree, hoping to grant him a form that would be immune to the harsh realities of their world. It may be that her intentions were pure, but her methods flawed, a common tragedy in the lands between. Bok's journey from a tree to a trusted confidant highlights the transformative power of kindness and the enduring human desire for affirmation, even in the most unlikely of forms. And what of the enigmatic merchants, those solitary figures found scattered throughout the lands between, often playing mournful tunes on their instruments? They speak in cryptic parables, their faces hidden beneath hoods, their origins a mystery. Are they simply traveling tradesmen, or do they serve a deeper, more ancient purpose? Their connection to the nomadic merchants' gear, and their apparent ability to withstand the dangers of the world, suggests a resilience that goes beyond mere survival. Some believe that the merchants are not merely individuals, but rather a collective entity, a scattered network connected by an unseen bond, perhaps even a magical one. It may be that they are descendants of an ancient, forgotten people, cursed to wander the lands between, their trade a means of both survival and observation. Their knowledge of secret paths and hidden lore, and their often otherworldly demeanor, hints at a wisdom that predates the current age. The fact that they are often found near places of historical significance further supports the idea of their deep connection to the land and its forgotten past. They are the quiet chroniclers of the lands between, their songs a lament for a world long lost, their wares a link to a forgotten past. Consider the nature of the tarnished themselves, not just our character, but all those who are beckoned back by grace. What is the fundamental difference between a tarnished and a regular inhabitant of the lands between? Is it merely the ability to see grace, or is there a deeper, more profound change within their very being? The fact that they were exiled and then recalled suggests a specific purpose, a destiny woven into the fabric of the world. Some theorize that the tarnished are not simply living beings, but rather vessels, chosen by the greater will, or another unseen force, to fulfill a specific role in the restoration or reshaping of the lands between. It may be that their tarnished nature refers not to a flaw, but to a state of being unbound by the Golden Order, free to choose their own path, for good or ill. Their resilience, their ability to revive after death, and their unique connection to the Erdtree's grace all point to a special, almost supernatural status. They are the outsiders, the forgotten, who have been called back to rewrite the history of a shattered world. Let us also contemplate the lingering mystery of the various statues and architectural styles found throughout the lands between. From the ancient pre-Erdtree ruins with their bestial motifs to the ornate Golden Order cathedrals and the eerie, Carian-inspired structures, each tells a story, but many of these stories are incomplete, their meanings lost to time. What was the exact nature of the civilizations that built the Walking Mausoleums, or the imposing golem structures that guard ancient paths? The sheer scale and intricate detail of these forgotten architectures speak of advanced societies with unique magical and engineering capabilities. Some believe that the golems, for instance, were not merely constructs, but were imbued with a form of proto-life, perhaps even the souls of their creators, bound to protect their ancient domains. It may be that the differing architectural styles represent not just temporal shifts, but also the influence of various outer gods or powerful entities, each leaving their mark on the land and its people. The fragmented nature of these ruins, and the often horrifying fates of their inhabitants, serve as a stark reminder of the cyclical nature of power and decay in the lands between, where even the grandest empires eventually fall to dust. And then there is the quiet, almost melancholic presence of the spirit springs that launch us into the air. What are these natural phenomena, truly? Are they mere magical geysers, or do they represent something deeper, a connection to the very lifeblood of the lands between? Their ability to propel us skyward with such force, yet without harm, suggests an elemental power, perhaps linked to the ancient forces of the earth and sky. Some theorize that the spirit springs are not merely natural occurrences, but are manifestations of the land's own spiritual energy, remnants of a time when magic flowed more freely and openly through the world. It may be that they are connected to the root system of the Erdtree itself, drawing upon its vast power to create these localized bursts of energy. Their existence, often in unexpected places, adds a touch of playful mystery to our journey, a reminder that even in a world of ruin, there are still wonders to behold and hidden paths to uncover. We turn now to the curious case of the golems, those towering, often headless stone warriors that guard ancient ruins and strategic locations. What exactly animates these colossal figures? And what was their original purpose? They seem to be remnants of a bygone era, their technology and magic largely forgotten. Their sheer size and the power they wield suggest they were once formidable weapons or guardians for a long-lost civilization. Some believe that the golems are not merely machines, but were once living beings, perhaps even giants, whose souls were encased in stone, bound to serve eternally. It may be that they are a form of sophisticated automatons, powered by a unique blend of magic and engineering, a lost art that allowed their creators to breathe a semblance of life into inert rock. The fact that many are found headless, or in various states of disrepair, hints at a great conflict that brought about their downfall and the demise of their creators. Their silent, unyielding vigil is a testament to the enduring power of ancient magic and the forgotten wars that shaped the lands between. Consider also the enigmatic nature of the various ghosts and spectral figures that populate the lands between, distinct from our spirit summons. These often transparent figures, sometimes speaking cryptic lines, offer glimpses into the past or warnings for the present. Are they truly spirits of the dead, lingering in the world? Or are they echoes, imprinted memories of past events, replaying themselves for those with the sight to see? Their often mournful or cautionary tone suggests a conscious presence, a desire to communicate, even in their ethereal state. Some believe that these ghosts are souls caught between worlds, unable to fully pass on to the Erdtree or find rest, perhaps due to the shattering of the Elden Ring or some other pervasive curse. It may be that they are remnants of the souls whose bodies were claimed by the Deathblight, their spirits unable to find peace due to the defilement of their forms. Their fragmented dialogue and fleeting appearances add a layer of tragic beauty to the landscape, a constant reminder of the countless lives lost in the endless wars and conflicts that plague the lands between. Another fascinating mystery lies within the subtle, almost subliminal connections between various flora and fauna throughout the lands between, and the more profound magicals or cosmic forces at play. For instance, the glowing Erdtree avatars, seemingly animated by the very essence of the Erdtree, guard its saplings. Are they merely constructs, or are they aspects of the Erdtree's consciousness, its defensive mechanisms given form? Their lumbering, almost sorrowful movements suggest a heavy burden, a duty they are compelled to fulfill. Some theorize that these avatars are not just guardians, but are conduits for the Erdtree's will, its eyes and hands in the physical world, defending its precious lifeblood from encroaching threats. It may be that they are a form of sentient, arboreal golem, animated by the Erdtree's own grace, imbued with a protective instinct. Their existence highlights the active, even aggressive nature of the Erdtree's influence, suggesting that it is not merely a passive source of power, but a living, breathing entity with its own agenda and defenses. Let us also ponder the strange phenomenon of the grace itself, the guiding light that leads the tarnished. While we understand its purpose, its ultimate origin and the full extent of its sentience remain elusive. Is it a direct manifestation of the greater will's power, or something more ancient, more fundamental to the fabric of the lands between? The way it subtly steers us, sometimes toward danger, sometimes toward salvation, suggests a profound intelligence behind its glow. Some believe that grace is not a singular entity, but a complex, interconnected web of spiritual energy, a sort of cosmic GPS system for those chosen to mend the Elden Ring. It may be that grace is a primal force, predating even the Golden Order, a fundamental law of the world that seeks balance and restoration, using the tarnished as its agents. Its subtle, yet persistent guidance, even through periods of doubt and despair, underscores its profound and enduring influence on our journey, a silent companion in a desolate world. And what of the various outer gods beyond the greater will? those unseen, often malevolent entities whose influence is felt throughout the lands between, but whose true forms and intentions remain largely unknown. We encounter the chilling touch of the formless mother, the destructive power of the god of rot, and the subtle manipulations of the frenzied flame. But are there others, lurking in the cosmic periphery, their whispers shaping destinies in ways we cannot fully comprehend? The very concept of these distant, powerful entities suggests a vast, interconnected cosmos, far beyond the confines of the lands between, a universe teeming with unseen forces. Some theorize that these outer gods are not necessarily malevolent by nature, but are simply forces of chaos or change, their influence perceived as destructive only from the perspective of the existing order. It may be that the lands between is merely one small stage in a much larger cosmic drama, with these outer gods vying for influence and control over various aspects of existence. Their presence adds a layer of existential dread and wonder to the world, reminding us of the vastness of the unknown and the myriad powers that shape destiny from afar. We might consider the curious case of the mimic tears, those amorphous blobs that can perfectly replicate any form, including our own. What is their true origin, and what constitutes their life? Are they magical constructs, sentient goo, or something more profound, a form of primal, adaptive life that existed before the current order? Their ability to perfectly mimic not just physical form, but also fighting style and even emotions suggests a profound understanding of identity and self. Some believe that mimic tears are a form of primordial life, a remnant of the crucible, that first churning of existence, capable of taking on any form to survive and adapt. It may be that they are a failed experiment, an attempt by some ancient sorcerer or demigod to create perfect soldiers or servants, but resulting in a being that is ultimately without true self, merely a reflection. Their existence raises fascinating questions about identity, consciousness, and the very nature of life itself, in a world where even tears can become a formidable opponent. Finally, let us reflect on the enduring mystery of the spirit of the lands between itself. Beyond the individual stories and theories, there is a pervasive atmosphere, a melancholic beauty, a sense of ancient sorrow that permeates every ruin, every whisper of wind. What is this overarching feeling, this intangible essence that makes the lands between so unique and compelling? Is it merely the sum of its tragedies, or is there a deeper, almost spiritual consciousness to the land itself, a lingering echo of all that has transpired within its borders? Some believe that the lands between is not just a geographical location, but a living, breathing entity. Its mountains and valleys, its rivers and forests, all imbued with a collective memory and emotion, a sort of planetary consciousness. It may be that the pervasive sense of melancholy and loss is a direct emanation from this land spirit, mourning the broken Elden Ring and the shattered Golden Order. This deep, almost palpable sense of history, of lives lived and lost, of empires risen and fallen, is what truly defines the lands between, making it a place of endless contemplation and quiet wonder. We've drifted through even more mysteries and theories this night, each one a shimmering, elusive truth in the vast, sleeping world of Elden Ring, each whisper a potential key to understanding its profound depths. Thank you for journeying with me through these quiet contemplations, allowing your mind to wander through the echoes of forgotten ages. Perhaps as you drift deeper into slumber, you might consider which of these ancient riddles speaks most strongly to your inner spirit, which forgotten truth you feel might be closest to the heart of this fractured world, awaiting discovery. May your rest be peaceful, and your dreams filled with the gentle echoes of forgotten ages. We're drifting slowly into the mysteries of the lands between, where the whisper of ancient winds carries tales untold and forgotten truths lie hidden beneath layers of dust and dream. And tonight we shall delve deeper into those quiet corners, seeking out the enigmatic figures and unexplained phenomena that continue to spark our imaginations, offering gentle avenues for contemplation as the world outside fades into slumber. Consider, if you will, the curious case of Bok the Seamster, a demigod, born of Marika, yet transformed into a lowly, lesser demi-human. What transpired to bring about such a drastic change in his form? The game offers only fragments, mentioning that he was once a shameful mockery, born of Marika but not truly recognized, perhaps due to the nature of his birth, or some unknown transgression. Some believe his transformation was a curse, a divine punishment for a perceived failing, or perhaps a consequence of the chaotic magic that permeated the lands between even before the shattering. It may be that his mother, Marika, in her complex and often enigmatic wisdom, allowed or even orchestrated his transformation, perhaps as a test or a means of hiding him from a dangerous world. This theory suggests a deeper, more tragic motivation behind Bock's existence, transforming him from a mere comedic relief character into a figure of profound sorrow and resilience. His constant self-doubt, his plea for the player to call him beautiful, resonates deeply with the idea of a once powerful being reduced to an undesirable form, yearning for acceptance and a return to grace. His story, though seemingly minor, hints at the vast and often cruel transformations that can befall even those of divine lineage within the lands between. Then there is the perplexing phenomenon of the Walking Mausoleums. These colossal, melancholic structures, bearing the bodies of headless demigods, wander the landscape with a mournful gait, bells tolling a sorrowful rhythm. What is their purpose, and by whose hand were they constructed? The lore suggests they house slumbering demigods, allowing their spectral forms to be brought back to life. But the why remains elusive. Some believe they are a form of perpetual mourning, a grand funerary procession for the fallen, ensuring their eternal rest is undisturbed, yet also available for spiritual resurrection. It may be that they were built by a loyal faction of followers to protect their demigod lords from the ravages of the shattering, a desperate attempt to preserve their lineage in a world falling apart. The headless nature of the demigods within is another layer of mystery. Was it a ritualistic act, a symbol of their sacrifice, or a consequence of their death in battle, their heads perhaps taken as trophies? This detail suggests a violent end, and perhaps a desire to prevent their complete disappearance by preserving their bodies in these moving tombs. The very act of them walking implies a continued journey, an endless pilgrimage through a broken land, perhaps searching for a new resting place, or simply unable to find peace. Their existence speaks to the reverence and fear surrounding the demigods, even in death, and the lengths to which their devoted might go to honor or protect them. Let us turn our thoughts to the enigmatic figure of Sir Gideon Ofnir, the All-Knowing, and his vast library of forbidden knowledge. While his motives for seeking knowledge of the outer gods are clear, he wishes to become Elden Lord, the true depth of his understanding, and indeed the source of some of his more obscure insights, remains a fascinating mystery. How did he acquire such detailed information about entities like the Formless Mother or the God of Rot, beings whose existence is deliberately obscured or forgotten by the Golden Order? Some believe Gideon possessed a network of spies and informants far more extensive and effective than the player ever witnesses, reaching into the deepest, darkest corners of the lands between. It may be that he had access to ancient texts and relics predating the Golden Order itself, hidden away by those who resisted its dominance, or perhaps even whispered secrets from the Two Fingers themselves, albeit in their more cryptic forms. His title, All-Knowing, is of course a boast, but it points to a relentless pursuit of truth, even when that truth is dangerous or heretical. The profound irony of his character lies in his ultimate failure to truly know the path to becoming Elden Lord, despite accumulating so much information. This suggests that some truths cannot be simply read or learned, but must be experienced or earned through a different kind of wisdom, a wisdom that transcends mere knowledge. His quest highlights the limitations of intellectual understanding in a world governed by divine will and ancient cosmic forces. Consider next the peculiar nature of the spirit ashes and the ability to summon spectral allies from their remains. This magical practice, seemingly widespread yet not fully explained, raises questions about the nature of souls, memories, and the afterlife in the lands between. How is it that these ashes retain the essence of the fallen, allowing them to be called forth to fight once more? Some believe that the spirit ashes are not merely remnants, but a kind of condensed memory, imbued with the lingering will and fighting spirit of the individual. It may be that a specific form of death, or a particular ritual performed at the time of passing, allows for this preservation of essence, a way to cheat the finality of death in a world where death itself is a complex, often manipulated concept. The fact that many of these spirits are mournful or lost hints at a consciousness lingering within the ashes, a continuation of their struggle even beyond their mortal coil. This practice suggests a world where the boundary between life and death is far more porous than our own, where the dead can still lend their strength, their sorrow, and their resolve to the living. The comfort these spirits offer, the companionship in the bleakest of battles, speaks to a deep-seated desire for connection, even across the veil of death. Let us ponder the lingering presence of the Carian royal family, particularly after the supposed defeat of Renala and the clear shift in power towards the Golden Order's influence. While Rani initiates her Age of Stars, what truly became of the rest of the Carian lineage and their ancient sorceries? The game suggests a gradual decline, but the true scope of their enduring influence, especially in the Lands of Shadow, remains tantalizingly vague. Some believe that remnants of the Carian royal family, or at least their most devoted followers, retreated into hidden places, perhaps even into the Shadow Realm, preserving their magical traditions and awaiting a resurgence. It may be that their unique brand of glintstone sorcery, deeply intertwined with the moon and stars, offered a form of protection or camouflage from the encroaching Golden Order, allowing them to survive in secret. The continued presence of Carian knights and sorcerers in various parts of the Lands Between, even after their apparent defeat, hints at a deeper, more resilient lineage than initially perceived. Their story is one of enduring magic and ancient bloodlines, refusing to be fully extinguished by the dominant powers, a quiet resistance that persists in the shadows, much like the very stars that guide their magic. And what of the enigmatic merchants, those nomadic figures who squat by their firesides, humming ancient tunes and offering their wares? Their origins are shrouded in mystery, and their resilience in a world constantly at war is remarkable. They speak of a great caravan and a shared history, but the details are scarce. Some believe these merchants are survivors of a forgotten civilization, perhaps even a pre-Erdtree society, who have adapted to the harsh realities of the Lands Between by remaining neutral and focusing on trade. It may be that they possess a secret network, a hidden language or understanding that allows them to navigate the dangerous landscapes and avoid the conflicts that consume others. Their blindfolds, a common feature among many, suggest a ritualistic or cultural significance, perhaps a way of focusing their inner senses, or a symbol of their detachment from the visual chaos of the world. The poignant lore surrounding Kale, the first merchant encountered, and his belief in the return of the great caravan, hints at a deeper, almost mythical quest for a forgotten home or a unified people. Their quiet strength, their unwavering dedication to their trade, and their melancholic songs offer a glimpse into a persistent, enduring culture that has weathered countless storms, a testament to the human spirit's ability to find purpose and community even in the most fractured of worlds. Let us now consider the curious case of the Albinaurics, a race created artificially, yet possessing a soul. Their two generations, with distinct physical characteristics and varying levels of sentience, raise profound ethical questions within the lore. Who created them, and for what purpose? Some believe they were created by ancient sorcerers or alchemists, perhaps in an attempt to create a perfect servant race or to imbue life into inanimate matter. It may be that their creation was a desperate measure during a time of war or plague, an attempt to replenish dwindling populations or to create expendable soldiers. The suffering of the second-generation Albinaurics, their withered legs and inability to walk, suggests a flaw in their creation, a tragic consequence of playing God. Their existence speaks to the dangers of unchecked ambition and the profound ethical dilemmas that arise when life itself is engineered. The compassion shown to them by figures like Latenna and the quest to find their sacred village highlights the inherent value of all life, even that which is artificially created, and the enduring struggle for dignity and acceptance in a world that often casts them aside. And what of the hidden message within the very architecture of the Erdtree itself? Beyond its obvious symbolism as a divine presence and source of grace, some theories suggest its intricate root system, reaching deep beneath the earth, functions not just as a conduit for life, but also as a vast, sentient network, a kind of planetary consciousness. It's believed that the Erdtree observes, remembers, and perhaps even subtly influences the events of the Lands Between through its unseen connections. It may be that the Golden Order's power is not just derived from the Elden Ring, but also from direct communion with this living, breathing superorganism, absorbing its ancient wisdom and raw life force. The very way grace emanates from its branches, guiding the tarnished, could be interpreted as the Erdtree's own will, its subtle push towards restoring balance or its chosen order. This theory lends a deeper, more organic sentience to the Erdtree, transforming it from a mere symbol into an active participant in the ongoing drama of the lands between, a silent, ancient observer with its own profound and perhaps unknowable agenda. Finally, we find ourselves contemplating the fate of the Tarnished, who choose to embrace the Lord of Frenzied Flame, and the true implications of burning the Erdtree with its terrible power. While the immediate outcome is clear, a world consumed by madness and fire, the long-term cosmic consequences and the ultimate destiny of such a Tarnished remain a profound mystery. Some believe that by becoming the Lord of Frenzied Flame, the Tarnished effectively assumes the mantle of an outer god, becoming a vessel for its destructive will, forever bound to its chaotic existence. It may be that this ending is not merely a reset, but a fundamental alteration of the very fabric of reality, reducing all to a singular, undifferentiated chaos, a return to a primordial, unformed state before creation. The act of burning the Erdtree, a symbol of life and order, with the flame of frenzy, represents a complete rejection of all established cosmic laws, a defiant act against the greater will and any other outer god attempting to impose their order. This path suggests a transcendence of individual identity, not into godhood in the traditional sense, but into a force of pure, fundamental destruction, a cosmic agent of oblivion, forever existing as the embodiment of an unmaking, a final, terrible end to all distinctions and all suffering. We've drifted through even more mysteries and theories this night, each one a shimmering, elusive truth in the vast, sleeping world of Elden Ring, each whisper a potential key to understanding its profound depths. Thank you for journeying with me through these quiet contemplations, allowing your mind to wander through the echoes of forgotten ages. Perhaps as you drift deeper into slumber, you might consider which of these ancient riddles speaks most strongly to your inner spirit, which forgotten truth you feel might be closest to the heart of this fractured world, awaiting discovery. May your rest be peaceful, and your dreams filled with the gentle echoes of forgotten ages.